Today we have lots and lots of Christmas decor inspiration. I'm Brandy and this is Making It My Own DIYs. Welcome back. Our first project is going to be Snow Place Like Home. We're going to use a dome or cloche here. This one came from Dirt Cheap. I'm going to use a little Dollar Tree house, any one that you like. I'm going to use some metallic gold paint, some Adirondack white chalk paint, some white spray paint, white glitter, and some little Christmas trees. One is gold, one is white. You can choose whatever you like. And then a little piece of this snowy cloth. All right, we're going to start off by getting this house painted up. Now I'm going to give this 2 coats actually, and I'm going to cover the entire thing except for the bottom. With the chalk paint, it's thick so it will settle down in all those little spaces, and I want to cover up all that color. So I'm going to use the white spray paint to go over the bottom here. I'm going to lay this little scrap of cloth on top. I'm going to roughly cut out the size that I'm going to need all the way around. And then I'm just going to take that piece off. I know that it's the right size. And I'll fold it over twice. And then I'm going to even out the edge here to make it a better fitting, smoother circle. Gotta have some sharp scissors. And I'm very happy with the way this turned out. It's going to fit perfectly right here. And this is a little bit stretchy, so you can move it around just a little bit if you need to. I'm going to use just a little bit of this glue stick. It's purple. It's purple when it's wet, but it does dry clear, and you will see that. I like that this gives us the softness and thickness on the bottom, but if you choose to just use something like fake snow, you can certainly do that as well. Either way will work. Just be sure to make it your own. Alright, so I'll take some of that gold paint now and go over the white. I chose the white to go underneath the gold so that the gold would be a crisper, brighter color. If I would have put it over the black, there's no telling how many layers it would have taken to achieve this look, so going with the lighter paint worked for me. Also being sure that I go over the edges and around the bottom edge and under the top as well. Full coverage here. Did the first coat with the paintbrush. Once it's dried, I'm just going to use a piece of sponge to put the second layer on, and it's going to make it a little bit thicker and give it a bit of an aged look, which is perfect when you're working to make classic Christmas pieces. So I'll take my little house. It is nice and dry, and I'll just test it out to see where I want the tree to go. You got a little room in here, so I'm just going to kind of move it more toward the back. So we'll have a little space in the front to decorate or landscape. I'm going to take the gold tree, and I do have 2 of these, and my little cutters here, and just cut that top layer off of the gold tree. So this fits the scale, and it will actually fit the inside of the dome much, much better. So now we have 2 little beautiful gold trees right in the front. A little bit of hot glue is going to keep that in place for each one. And then I am going to do a little bit of glittering on this house. I love that white glitter. You can use fake snow or Epsom salt, whatever you want, but I thought glitter would be really pretty in the cloche, that it would be really pretty for the scale of this project. So I'm just using a little bit of this Mod Podge, and yeah, I didn't want to get up and get a brush, so I am a country girl and I don't mind getting my fingers dirty. So I'm just going to dab this here and there all over the top, and then I can start putting on that beautiful white glitter. I'm doing it inside of a box top, that way any of the fall off can be added back on here. I don't want to waste anything, right? I usually get my glitter at the thrift store. People, I guess, get it for school projects or something. You know, they use a little bit and then they don't need it anymore, so they get rid of it. I mean, glitter's messy. Let's just be realistic here. It's messy. It's pretty, but my goodness, you'll have it for years in your house. My grandchild has it in his hair, and even when he's not even at my house, I find glitter in his hair. It's so weird. Okay, so then I'm going to take a small brush and go over the railing and all the smaller spots, the areas where snow would collect if it was actually collecting. I'm just slinging it in there just to make sure it gets on all those surfaces. And then I'll let it dry. I'm going to use spray adhesive on the top and the leftovers in this box to make a very pretty little piece here. And then I'll add just a little bit more just to give it the look of glistening snow. And you can see it already, how pretty that looks. Then you can, use your spray adhesive on the top or some hairspray or something to help hold it in place. Now I know where I want it to go, right? So I'm getting my placement again. And I took this little miniature snowman that I had. You can use something from Dollar Tree if you wanted to. And I just painted it with the same white chalk paint in 2 coats. I'm going to turn my little light on. I put the little snowman down there. And then I'll get my dome back in place with my light on. And this is how it is going to look. The next project is going to be some silver bells. This is a thrifted piece, y'all. I got this from the thrift store. It has got some damage. It's got some like remnants of glue on it. It's faded. Giving you the measurements here so you can get an idea of what I am working with. It's about, 16 by 7. I cleaned it really well. I'm going to get a tree from Dollar Tree, open it up. We don't need any of the legs. This is what I got from Temu, just some holly pieces, but you use whatever type of greenery you like. This is a hammered silver paint. It's a spray paint. So we're going to start always by cleaning. So everything has been wiped down with my alcohol wipes or my cleaning wipes. And I'm going to take a little bit of heat, not too much because these are plastic. And I'm just going to add a little heat to soften up this glue that was on here. And I'm going to take my little scraper and get as much off as I can. Looks much better, right? So now I'm going to take it outside and we're going to make silver bells. While that paint is drying, and it does take 2 coats, I'm going to start opening up this tree because this is going to be the background for our bells. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but I think it gives a better look and it's a better impact, I think. But you could always take your bells and just hang them right on the tree if you would like. So I'm going to open these all up so that it is upside down and flat. Pulling everything out to the sides, just kind of trying to be sure that I don't have any holes, that I've pulled the right amount out to the left and the right amount out to the right. And this little tip that hangs off, I will just trim it off because we don't need that piece. Once those bells are coated and dried, this is how they look, and I absolutely love it. I hope that you do too. I'm going to use 2 of these little round ornaments to go on the inside as the clappers for the bells. I've just put them on these little sticks here. I'm going to take them out, spray paint them, and while they're drying, I'm going to dress my tree. I have used spray adhesive and some snow to prep it. Here are the clappers for the bells. I'm going to add glue in here now because we're going to use these sticks to help apply them to the bell. I'm going to put some glue down in the ornament. I'm going to put the sticks in, and then I'm going to put these bells on the inside. Now, in the inside, these bells once were musical, but they're broken now. But they still have these little 2 boxes mounted on here, which is absolutely perfect for us to put the stick in there. So I'm just going to add some hot glue. And then the stick, the ones I got, just happen to fit perfectly if you push them all the way into the tip of the bell to get equal length. Look at that. Perfect. So now I've got some silver wire that I'm going to use because it matches the bell and you won't even see it. I'm going to go through the branches and around the stem of this tree, which is now upside down. And I'm going to wrap it around the metal part and then flip it over and wrap it around the back, and this will hold it in place securely. I didn't have to use any glue to stick the bell down. You see, it's very secure. Nice. Then I'm going to start putting down the holly and berries. Love this very, very much. I'm going to just take the little wires that are on the back and I'm going to use those to my advantage so that I could have something to put some glue on. I made like a little circle or oval loop there, and I'll add some glue to that, and that's going to help lift it up just a little bit so that it is not glued completely flat. I don't want everything to just be completely stuck down and flat. I'm going to use some of my ribbon here. It's just a thin silvery ribbon. And I'm going to use this as a hanger. So I'll just tie it in the first side of the bell. And then I am going to just pull a length of it out and just tie it on the other side. Now, if you want to do double knots, go ahead and do that. If you want to add a little hot glue, you could do that. If you prefer to use jute or baker's twine or length of chain, whatever you like, you go right ahead and do that. But I love that this silver is so similar to the bells, the color of the bells. All right, don't worry about that stem there because that's going to be covered as we put down these little bundles of berries. I'm just twisting and just like I said, using those wires to my advantage. In some places when I'm doing this, I'm going to be using it as a little riser for the berries. And in some places I will be using these almost like a pick or a bobby pin to attach it to the branches. I'm just going along here until we get this as full and lush as we like. Hey, I just want to take a minute to tell you all thank you very, very much for participating in November's Subscriber Appreciation Month. It was a lot of fun. A lot of things have been sent off, and there are still a few more names that I am due to draw very soon and get that information out to you. So be sure that you have your notification bell on, because when I do a community post, you'll be able to see if you're the winner or not. I always post it there, and I will post it under your original comment. So go back to the videos and double check, because there are people who have won that have not contacted me for their information. And after a certain amount of time, I've just got to move on. You know, I have to just move on. Or I get tied up forever doing it, and I really don't have the time. I really don't, y'all. I love y'all, but can't do that. My detective skills are not that good. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun, and I do appreciate it. And we've got some things coming up in our membership group. I've got some surprises for you gals and guys, so be ready for that. All right, we're going to continue to add along here. And you can see how I just kind of use the little wire pieces to slide it between the branches. You can twist them around, and then I'm just securing in here and there with the hot glue to make sure that things are staying in place. And I already absolutely love the way this looks. I had some ribbon out and thought that maybe I would put a bow on here, but I really wanted the center of attention to be on the bells themselves, so I left the bow off for this one, for those of you who do not care for bells. Very classic silver bells. The next project is going to be a standing jumbo ornament. So I've got this big ornament that I found at the thrift store. Big and pretty. I have a candle stand that I got thrifting a long time ago. Has been in my stash. You'd be surprised what you can find in your stash when you actually clean your space. My daughter is helping me get organized right now, thank goodness, because it is rough after all these holidays, y'all. I'm telling you, the end of the year, the holiday mess is so overwhelming. Oh, but anyway, so you can see the ribbons and the other things there as I was chatting. And we're going to use 3 different colors of paint. So I've got a green, a red, and a gold. A variety of brushes, whatever makes it easy. And a little paint tray. You can get these from Dollar Tree. That same greenery that I had a ton of pieces of. Got that. I'm going to use it again. We're using it up, y'all. We're going to use it up. I don't need this cap, so I'm just going to twist it right off the top. I'm going to use my big old glue gun here, and I'm going to try to fill the tip of that ornament, that top tip, with some glue, so that when I put this stick down in there, it will just be held in place very securely. So the stick is going down. It's a very thin dowel. I find these things thrifting all the time, and I get them just in case. I'll use some of this double stick mounting tape and put this in several pieces across the top of the candelabra or the candle stand. And then I'm going to add hot glue around them and then kind of over the top of some of the places, just because, I don't know, I got a little sloppy here. But it worked. It worked. Then I'll take a round styrofoam disc, flip this over, make sure it's centered, let it sit for a minute, I'm going to grab those 3 paints and I'm going to go over this. I didn't really care for the bright green. I wanted to make it look a little bit older, a little bit darker. So I'm going to do a lot of work on this. I'm not going to show you all of it, but I'm going to use 2 coats of paint on each one of these colors except for the gold. I just did a touch up on the gold where there was some scratched off areas. And then I'm going to take it outside and put it in the garage by the fan and let it dry. So my first idea was, since this is white and not green, and I wanted it to blend in with the greenery I'm putting on, painted it green, let it dry, and then I decided, well, we can't really successfully use the glue on the pieces of greenery without melting the foam a little bit, and it might fall off. So I thought, well, let's just use some gold ribbon, something that closely matches the color that's already in the candle stand. That will be okay. It will just look like another layer on the top. So that's what I decided to do. I'm just taking that gold ribbon and I'm going to go all the way around lightly with the glue because, you know, hot glue and foam, you know how that works. And then I'll cut it neatly off. And this is how it's going to look. I'm going to let that green paint dry. And then I'll take some of those pieces, and they're in 3s, right? Those little branches that we've been using on these projects, they're in 3s. So I'm just going to take them and put them down. Y'all, I did not measure, and you are welcome to count how many I actually put on this layer, but I'm leaving these about an 1.25 inches apart, maybe an 1.5 inches apart. You have to hold those on there a minute to let them dry. I'm just not making you be bored and watch me hold all of these pieces, but you get the idea. You got to let that glue set up before you move on to the next one. Okay, once that first layer is done, this is how it's going to look. These are going to be hanging downward. Okay, so now here is that bulb once I've got it completely redone, and then I sprayed it with some satin sealer spray. It's completely dry. I'm going to trim down the stick because we don't need that much of it. And then I'll be using that stick to help me hold it in place. So I'm going to push it down on there. And then I'm going to push the mouth of the bulb down in there as well. You can see right now it's sitting right on the top, close enough to the center. Now I'm going to push down on it so that it will bite down into that foam and give me an idea of where I need to apply my glue. So now you can see the original hole and you can see the circle around it. I'm going to use E6000 on the inside. And then on the outside of it, where that ring is, I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. Hot glue is going to help hold it in place while that E6000 is drying. Plus, it'll have some stability from the stick that we're putting in there as well. Otherwise, it would just fall off, right? It would just fall completely off. But now this is how that is going to look, and I have to hold it there for a little while until the glue sets up, and then as it's setting up, I'm going to add more. You can see the white around there. That's where I added the hot glue. Now we're going to work on the next layer of greenery on this beautiful piece. So I'm going to go in there again. These are the same exact length as the other ones. And I know you can't see, but I'm going to show you in just a moment what I'm doing here to add the next layer. This layer is actually going to be on top. This is pushed all the way against the mouth of the ornament. You see how these look? All the way against the mouth and hanging over the side. That's half of them done. Proceed around until the entire thing is done. Just like that. We're just repetitive, doing the same thing all the way around. And then for the last layer, I'm going to cut the 3 pieces apart and take the 2 shorter branches off of each of these pieces and add those with some hot glue all the way up against the opening of this ornament. And I will do that all the way around as well. It covers up the base and adds a little more security. Oh, love that. Absolutely love that. It just makes it look like it's blooming out of there. All right, so this project will be getting a bow. So I've got my bow making tool. If I don't have this linked for you in the description box, let me know in the comments. I'd be very happy to share with you how I made this if you would like to make one of your own. I am not the original inventor. I am not trying to take credit for their work, so please don't be upset by that. It's just at the time I was a stay-at-home mom trying to get a business started, and I needed the tools to do the work, so I made one for myself. So you choose whatever length bows you want here, whichever, length. I ended up shortening this down. You don't see where I shorten it down, but watch the technique and just know that the bottom piece is a 5-inch loop on each side. And see what I'm doing? Because this is flat on one side and the other side is like a velvet or a velour, you have to twist it in the middle to get that pretty side up. So that's what you see me doing. I'm twisting it. These are wired ribbons. I am going to go down an inch for the next layer. You can see where my fingers are. I went down an inch, and then I'll twist it, make the next loop, and it's going to be down an inch too. And then I'm going to cut off my piece of ribbon. That's going to be my tail. I've got tails on both sides, and those tails are about 14 inches long. The next layer is going to have the gold on it. Now this is all the gold I had left on this roll, so I just decided to go ahead and use all of it. It looks really the same on both sides. That's what I was looking at there to see if I needed to twist it, and it's really not necessary to twist it. So I am just going to make my loops. You're going to do 3 inches now. So the longest loop is 5, then 4, then 3. The gold ribbon is in 3 on both sides. Okay? And then we'll do 1 on each side that's a little bit smaller, and then a loop in the middle. Y'all, my tummy's growling. No wonder it's lunchtime. Ooh, I'm hungry. My grandbaby's in the other room with my daughter, and I can hear him. He's putting up a little bit of a fuss. I think he's sleepy. He's so sweet, y'all. Ugh, grandbabies. I just didn't know. I just didn't know. He is such a doll. Okay, so here's that loop in the middle. Now, I don't normally do this, but the loop in the middle is important because it's going to cover up the hardware, and I've been told that it's good to do odd numbers. So, I always make it my own anyway, but I thought, well, let's just do it in the middle for kicks and giggles. How about that? So now I've got my zip tie. I'm going to go over it, get my hand on there, pull that bow off, slip that zip tie right down in the gap where the ribbons were being held. Then I'll trim it down, and I'm going to cover that up with a little bit of pipe cleaner. This is just red pipe cleaner. I don't want that white to show. If I would have thought about it, I would have used this one in the first place. All right, now we get to fluff the bow. And from the moment a bow is born in my hands, it is fluffed into the very last second. I am forever fluffing. I am forever fluffing and floofing and messing around with the bows, y'all. I just have to do it. I have to do it. I see the potential in them, and they just need the work done. Okay, so now I'm going to take those and just fluff them out. I can trim the edges now for a little bit of a different angle. And yes, y'all can absolutely see that we're redoing the basement because it's a total wreck around there, and the doors are open and all that. But don't pay attention to that. Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain. Do y'all know what that's from? I bet you don't. I bet you do. Y'all know what that's from. Put it in the comments. I need to hear it. I need to hear somebody knows what I'm talking about. So fluff the bow. Then we're going to work on the tails. Now the benefit, of course, of a wired ribbon, in case you are new here, is that you can kind of give it some body and shape, and it will stay the way you put it. So I'm going to be playing around with these ribbons and show you 2 different ways that you can style these. I'm going to cut these at a slant, but you can definitely dovetail if you would like. I feel like a slant and the ribbon is a little more authentic to the way things used to be. So that's the way I decided to cut them. And I will cut shorter and shorter as I go. I like to start off with a longer ribbon. I'm just going to make sure my tails lay where I like them. Okay, so this is one way. This is one way if you like the loop. Or you can grab something to make a curl. And this would be like if you were putting a roller in your hair and you twist it around the roller and you come down with a curl. Or like if you used a curling iron, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to show you how you can do that if you would like to make curls. But you could do it with your hand as well. The bigger the object that you use to twist, the bigger the loops are going to be. And if you use something really tiny, you're going to have very tight loops. I really like the curl on the ribbon for this project, so that is how I am going to leave this. You could certainly use this as a centerpiece as well if you would like to. I've did a video with giftable centerpieces, and these are definitely pieces that you could give away as well. So now I thought, why not add a couple of more of those little scraps of greenery right into the bow itself. So I'm going to add it here. You know, when you come to this channel, I'm always encouraging you to make it your own and to do it in the most affordable way possible. My crafts might not be the most inexpensive, but I promise you they will never look cheap. Very traditional, classic Christmas piece that is elegant and so pretty. The next is going to be our trio candle round. So I'm going to start off, these are just little pick pieces that I've cut apart. I've got a sleeve of ornaments from Dollar Tree, so there are 12. Green, gold, and red. I've got green, gold, and red plaid ribbon and a red ribbon. They are both wired. I will only be using one of these, so you can decide what you like best. 2 blocks of foam from Dollar Tree. We will cut these with this little foam pool noodle knife. I've got some little pieces of round wood pieces, I guess. And then 3 of these beautiful glittery handles from Dollar Tree. I found them back during Thanksgiving hunting. That's when I found them. So you're going to pull the little tabs out of the bottom, and look how pretty they actually flicker. And there's very little fallout too. Also going to need a 12-inch round. Now mine happened to be something that I got at dirt cheap, because I get Target discards or whatever you want to call them, the stuff that doesn't sell. It'll go to Target in big pallets, and then I can buy it super cheap. Most of the time I find stuff for 50 cents a piece, which is fantastic for a wood round. So I'm going to take these pieces. You can see they've been used before. They were actually given to me by a lady named Teresa, who was so sweet. She gave me a bunch of stuff when she was moving, and I knew I could use these pieces. So I'm just going to kind of score them and then cut them, and then I will take them and rub them against themselves, which will kind of sand it off and make them a little more flat. I'll do the same thing with the other one. Just kind of make them flat. We want it to be a little bit flatter on the bottom. Clean it up, of course. Then we'll take these little round pieces. Now, you can use little wood rounds from Dollar Tree, whatever you want to use. The idea, or you could even use blocks actually, the idea is to make little risers for these so that it's kind of graduated as it goes down. One will be short, the next one will be medium, and the next one will be the tallest. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to show you here. 1, 2, and 3. Just making sure these are lined up nice and cylindrical, and you can see there'll be 3 different sizes. I'm going to use green paint. This is just a dark green color. That does not matter. Use whatever you like, but because I don't want this to stand out, I want it to blend in. I'm just painting it green so it will kind of fade into the background when I start putting greenery on this arrangement. This is another one, y'all, would be a beautiful gift to give to someone. Not everybody is into the crazy colors for Christmas and the animal prints and the farmhouse. You know, there are people in our family who don't like all that wild stuff. They just like the simple, traditional thing. And I love that this is a vintagey, older style that is just, it's a classic, right? So it's always relevant in some way. I'm happy to share that with you as well. So I'm just going to line these up here, and they're not centered, and I'm not bothered by that. I wasn't trying to get them centered. I'm going to make just essentially a bigger foam bottom for this. So if you have one big solid square, you could definitely use that. I'm just going to add a little hot glue and put these into place so that they will stay down here. It doesn't take a lot because, like I said, the foam will melt when you put the glue on it. It's not important in this situation. We're not going to be worried about that. Okay, so it is locked in place. You can see these are not level, and that does not matter. Nice and flat. Now, I didn't want to use black, and I'm going to show you what you can use. So don't think I'm leaving it that bare color. I'm not. I'm going to fix that. Don't worry. Now I'm pushing down a little bit to give me some markings in the foam so I know exactly where I want to place these. And I'm just testing it out to make sure that there's enough space that these are going to stand tightly against each other or close together, you know. And then I'll add a little hot glue again to put these in place. The double stick tape would be great for this too. That mounting tape is like a gel consistency. That would work too. Now we're going to make picks out of these ornaments. So I'm just going to add some glue on the inside. And this little shear bonder it's small. It fits right on the mouth of this, and for smaller projects, it does work good to get in these little spaces without making a mess with glue. So I'll put the pick down in there, and then I'll go in the top and kind of plug the hole with glue as well so that these don't slip off. And then I'll put each one aside, all 12 of them. I'll just put them aside and let that glue cool down so that our picks are nice and solid. So here's that tint. It's a walnut color tint. It's not a wax and it is not a paint. But if you want to use either one of those, you certainly can. The darkness from this on this walnut is going to make it fade into the background, and the flowers that are on there you will not see because we are going to be putting floral picks on there. Okay? No worries about that. Now here are the beautiful picks. I got these at the thrift store. There are a few pieces that have 3 poinsettias, and there are a few that have 1 poinsettia. So I'm going to take advantage of that and alternate. I have 2 of the 3 and 2 of the 1. They're going to fit beautifully on the sides here. So I'm getting an idea of my placement, and I'm going to cut off the excess because we don't need all that stem in the way. So just cut it off, and then I can bend the tip of that stem and press it right into the foam on that outer edge. I have already put a bend in the wire from the florals with my hand, so it's already got a little bend, so it will curve around there. I'll take these floral pins and I will find a spot, an inconspicuous spot, to put these pins to hold these pieces in place. These work so well in place of using glue because I don't think that it would hold it, especially with it having that bend in it. I don't think glue would hold it in place. So then I'll go to the next one. Okay, so if you're doing a classic piece and you don't care for red and gold and green, what could you do? Well, you could really do any combination. You could do a dark blue and silver and white. That would be beautiful as well, and I have seen that in classic decor. You could use any type of a plaid theme, you know, that you wanted to use, and you could use something with a white poinsettia rather than red if you want to. But like I said, I'm going for that classic look, and this is more of the traditional classic look that I have seen, and so this is what I chose. And I do like to do some research, y'all. I don't go all into the Encyclopedia Britannica for it, but I do like to do a little bit of research so that I can be somewhat accurate. My pieces that I make are always inspired pieces. I'm not trying to make an exact duplicate of something that is vintage or retro or traditional or classic. I'm giving you my idea, you know? And I encourage you to do it your way as well. If it's bringing you joy in your home and you're proud of it, then it's exactly what it needs to be. Don't let anybody critique your work. All right, so now we're back around to the last side. We're going to put that last piece in the exact same way we've been doing it. Secure it down with a pin on this side. And if you need more pins, you can definitely use more pins. You could take a little pick that I have up there in the right corner, bend it in half, and use that as a pick. You know, use your imagination and think outside the box. So far, look how full and lush this is. And that's only 4 picks. You could do this with something similar from the Dollar Tree, possibly. Right? You can definitely get a round sign from Dollar Tree and use it. Flip it over and use the back. You don't, just because the front has a decoration on it doesn't mean you can't use it. For $1.25, I mean, that's a good price. So now I'm going to start making little bundles of these ornaments, and I'm going to do a green, a gold, and a red in various sections in this arrangement. Now all I'm really doing is looking for spots that have like a little opening, or where it's a little, maybe missing a little something. That's where I'm adding in these pieces initially. And I'm doing it in 3s. I like them in little clusters of 3s. I think that looks nice. And then I'm going to choose another spot and do the same thing. I don't want it to be matchy-matchy, so I'm going to kind of rotate where I put the red and the green and the gold, as opposed to the neighbor that's beside it that's green, gold, and red, or whatever. You get the point. I'm going to give it some variety here. So now we're going to do the last little section. Perfect. Now I'm happy. This is exactly how I would like it to be, keeping in mind that the tallest spot is going to be the back of the arrangement. So I want the front section of the arrangement to be, in focus. Right now what you're looking at is the tallest section is right by my hand, where my hand is now, right? So that is going to be the back. Straight across from that to the right corner will be where the front is. I'm going to take a piece of a wreath that I thrifted, cut the little picks apart, and add to it in the areas that I want to cover the foam. I've got my beautiful ribbon here. I've just cut a length of that. I'm going to trim it at a slant like I did on the other arrangement. Squish that awareness sign into a bow. And then for me, I'm just going to grab some jute because it's close by. And I've been working all day. You know how it is. It's convenient, so that's what I'm going to use. But you could use rickrack, you can use a red ribbon, you could use floor wire, you could use a pipe cleaner. You can use a scrap of something else you got over there, whatever you want to use. And I'll make a double knot with this. Now with the remainder of it, I'm going to take it and tie it around one of the little pine branches that is sticking up in the front corner, because that is the front, right where the bow is. It's actually helping support it to stand a little bit. I'll cut that extra off. Kind of fluff it in arrangement a bit. All right, and then I'll go back in and make sure that I'm kind of tucking pieces here and there, so that in any direction you see this, if you put this on a table, nobody's going to see a bald spot. I also had some gold pine cones left over from last year, and I've decided to add those in here just to give it a little more fullness, to give it a little more richness and wealth, and that little extra pizzazz. You know what I mean, pizzazz. Okay, so now they're going to look great here. I love the positioning of it. Everything's been fluffed. Of course, I'm going to keep fluffing, but it's been fluffed. I'm going to turn all of my lights on and look at the beauty before our eyes. Absolutely love it. Absolutely. And this is not even the style I use in my home, but you know what? I can appreciate that this would be beautiful in someone else's home. Someone who loves plaid. Someone who loves something that is traditional. Somebody in the right age group, right? So here are the 4 projects. Now I'm going to give you a closer look of how they are when my little hot, gluey, painted on hands are not on top of them. Here is our little Snow Place Lake home. So cute. My grandson likes this one too. He likes things with lights. Look at that. And by the way, his mama puts a string of lights around the seat in front of his car seat, so he has something to look at night. How about that? There's a little tip for your grandbabies and your babies. Here's our silver bells. Rather than hanging them on the wall, I just have them resting on my little wreath frame here. If you are new to my channel, I would love to have you stay and become part of our family. Hit the subscribe bell, the notification bell there, and you won't miss any notifications. If you enjoy the information in this video and the crafts and the tips that I've given you, I would appreciate a thumbs up. It helps my channel and it helps me to do better. Here is our next piece with the curls in it. Of course, you know, like I said, you do whichever way you think is the best. And if you like a shorter ribbon, you can shorten it up. This piece could certainly be used by itself without the bow if that is something that you would like to leave off. You certainly can do that. We're going to start off with an easy evergreen swag. I thrifted some of this beautiful ribbon. It's got little jingle bells on it, but you can make this with some burlap ribbon and some hot glue. I've got a little strip of burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. This is a stake from one of their yard signs. It's about 18 inches long. And then I have 3 of these pieces that I thrifted. You can use Dollar Tree picks. However, if you are going to do that, you might want to go with 6 picks instead, just to give you the fullness. All right, I'm going to be using my staple gun and some pipe cleaners as well. I'm going to put the ugly side of the stick outward, the one with the little damage on it. And then I'm going to put these down in 3 different places. So the one in the middle is actually going to be almost in the center, and then one will be about 3 inches down, and the other one would be about 3 inches up from the bottom. So we'll have 3. We're going to take our branches, they'll be flat on one side, and then we're going to turn all the pretty sides upward. So the flat parts will be downward and the pretty sides will be upward. Make sure that you check your pine cones too to make sure none of them have big holes in them or crunched up and damaged. You know, you want everything to be pretty and high-end looking. Just because we do this on a budget does not mean we want it to look cheap, right? Right. Okay, so we're going to face these picks downward. And an easy way to get these to stay on without having to use glue is to use the support that's already in the branch to help you hold everything together. So we will take our pipe cleaners and just thread them through 2 of the outer pieces of that little branch. So it will support the weight of the branch. It'll hold it here and it won't slide off. If you were just to put the straight pick part on there, you would need glue to help hold it because it could slide out. Does that make sense to you? You see what I'm saying? Alright, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to twist the end right in the middle, just so that stays out of the way and it doesn't twist from side to side. Then we'll fix the other branch, get it all pretty sides up, kind of spread it out just a little bit. Oftentimes they come kind of crunched up, but you know, pull those out, let them show in all their glory. And then we'll do the same process. We're going to go up between 2 of the outer pieces and then push it down, give it a twist, wrap it to the back, and twist it on the back. Simple enough, right? The last pick, or if you're using 6 pieces, the last 2 will go right on top. If you start on the bottom, they'll layer down nicely. Look how full and beautiful this is already. It's making a very nice show for us. Then we'll do the same thing. See, this is so easy. Isn't this easy? It's such a great way to make an impact on your door. If you're going to put it outside, if you have double doors, you could do 2 of these. That would be beautiful. If you have lamps or lights outside of your door, you could hang them from there as well. Or you could put it in your house. Same little twisty twist to hold everything in place. And then I'm going to take this stem, hold it, and push the edge right over. You can always clip yours off if you want to. The wire is very thick in here, so I decided not to cut it. I'm just going to bend it around. Now the top branch that we have up there, I'm just going to take the pipe cleaner, twist it on itself, and then twist the little tails around the sides. And that's going to be a hanger. And the hanger will be low enough that you are not going to see it when we have it placed on our door or wall, wherever you want to put it. You can go back in and clean up the extra, take off your little end pieces here, give them a little extra twist just for luck, and then push the wires down. If you're concerned about this scratching your paint or your wall, you can add a little hot glue over those tips of the wire that might be sticking out, and then that'll make a little buffer there so it won't scratch. Alright, so I went ahead and took a wider, this is a 4-inch burlap ribbon, and the weave is a lot tighter, so I went ahead and put this one on first just to cover everything up, to kind of hold it also onto the stem that we put it on, just to give it a nice kind of look here and to keep everything secure. And then you can add some staples on the back side, not the front. We don't want anybody looking at that. Trim it off. Now this doesn't have to be cut perfectly because we're going to put another layer on here. This is my unwired jute or burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree. Put it on top, protect your fingers, or use a spatula or something to push it down. I had my clippers there, so I went ahead and used them. And then you're going to firmly twist that around. Make it nice and tight up to the top. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue in the inside where I put the thicker burlap, and I just have clips on it to hold it together. And then I'll add a little bit of hot glue to finish this off. All your finished sides should be in the back, not the front. And then to keep it tight, you can use little clamps to hold it in place. I use my Dollar Tree clamps. So far this is how it looks, and if you enjoy the look by itself, you can certainly do it just like that. I knew that I wanted to incorporate the ribbon. I love this ribbon. I think it's beautiful and rustic and woodlandy, and I knew it needed to be here. These need to be together. So I am just deciding what type of bow that I want to put on here. Now, bows are not for everyone. You certainly don't need it, but I think for holidays, having a little bow gives it a little something extra, and it gives a little movement. When the wind blows, it's just pretty. I love that. I'm all about the swaying branches and when the leaves falling and, you know, all the other good parts of fall and winter. All right, so now I'm just going to loop it over to show you very easily how to make a bow here. I'm going to make like an awareness loop and then squish the top down into the back. You see, it looks like a Y, sort of like a Y. I'm just moving it around to make sure that I'm not clamping it over any of my bells there. I want the bells to show, so that's why I kind of finagled it around a bit. Then I'm just going to use some jute and tie it very tightly in the back, a couple of knots so nothing slips, and then I'll trim it off. Flip it over and just kind of play around with it for a minute. This gives me an idea of how I want the size to be. Now, if I had to guess, I would say that the loops on both sides of that smaller, of the bow that I just made, is going to be like a 6-inch loop. The one I'm going to put on top of that is going to be more like a 5-inch loop. So we're going to go, you see here how we're going to go downward in sizes, and the smaller, the further toward the outside of the bow, the smaller the loops are going to be. But it makes a pretty look. Now, if you have a different type of bow that you like to make and you want to use that, you can certainly do it, or you can just use tails if you want to do that. So this is our second bow layer. Put it aside, and then I'll take the smallest one. So we did 6, 5, and 4. Now I'm going to use a longer piece of jute this time. I'm going to tie this in a double knot, and then we will use this long piece to attach all of the layers together. Put a nestling right on top, turn it over, and give it a few ties. Don't you think you can do this very easily and very quickly before you have company or guests over to your home? This is such a nice look. I think that this would go actually through fall and all the way into winter until spring comes along. It really is a pretty piece, and definitely I think it would be appropriate with these colors to just have this out for Thanksgiving as well. Or Friendsgiving, whatever you celebrate. So we're going to fluff out those pretty bows. And like I said, I thrifted this ribbon, but I'm sure you can find something like this at Hobby Lobby or Joann or, you know, any craft specialty stores. I'm going to get my little hanger out of the way, and I'm going to tie the bow right to the top. So it's going to be between our hanger and where we have our layers of ribbon there. Tie it off. You can use a little hot glue there just to make sure nothing comes untied if you have it out in the wind. And I do not recommend that you put anything out in the blazing sun or the freezing cold, because it can get, you know, bleached and damaged and all that. But, you know, keep it in a covered area and it'll last for you. Simple and beautiful. Pine cone trio. I've got a couple of different ribbons I'm thinking about using. These are little, there's some type of conductors or insulators that came off of a pole in my son-in-law's yard. And then we have some of these little berry vines, 3 colors, and then 3 pine cones that were also found on a recent walk through the woods at their house. You need something as a base, so some type of a round disc. You can use wood slices or a little wood disc. And I decided to use the little wood rounds, and I'm going to color them with some dark brown paint on a baby white. This is going to make it more of a stain so that you can still see the pretty rings that are underneath. Not necessarily something that you have to do. You can certainly paint the entire thing over if you don't want to see that. Whatever your choice is. And I'll do each one of those, and then we need to be sure that they dry, so either let them air dry or use your heating tool, a blow dryer, a fan, or just walk away and have a coffee break. Go sit outside for a little while. So I knew I wanted to use these little conductors, these pretty little insulators, and yes, I did wash them and dry them. I knew that they were going to be the base of Christmas tree. So we're going to make little pine cone Christmas trees. It has definitely been done before, but I think I'm giving you a little extra idea about how you can use it. I'm going to use some E6000 and some hot glue to put these, we're going to call these our little tree trunks, our bases, to attach them down to the wood disc. Hot glue is going to make a quick grab while that E6000 is drying for a permanent hold. You have to be sure that anything that you paint is dried first though, or it's not going to hold. If you would prefer using screws to hold something like this in place, you can do that, but the weight is not really enough where it would justify the time that it would take for me to get my tools out and to do that. So this works just fine. These are going to be easy to do also, y'all. No worries about this video. Now, you see how that looks? So pretty. I love the look of it. And look at these beautiful large pine cones. Now, we have pine trees all over our property as well, but we do not have ones that are this enormous. So my co-grandparent, Mama, I'm Nana and she's Mama. We share a grandson together, our first grandson. And I rode with her in a golf cart where everybody else walked around and the baby was there, and we grabbed up some things for me to craft with. So yeah, we had a good time that day. Now we're going to do the same combination of hot glue and E6000 to put our cones down. Be sure when you're doing these that you try to get cones that are symmetrical and that will kind of sit flat and stand up nice and straight. If you don't, you'll have to do a little more wiggling around to get it to sit where it needs to, so that it won't fall over, because the weight of the cone can tip it if you don't have the right fit. Now look at this one. It's really cool. The bottom of it is almost cupped, so it's a perfect little place for you to put that, what we're calling our tree trunk, right down in there and help hold it in place. I really didn't want this to come out, so I just added a little extra glue. And they're still standing, y'all. They're still standing. Here are the 3 of them. I'm going to make sure that even though they're not standing up completely straight, that put the fat side outward, or the pretty side outward, and the flatter side toward the back. We're going to use these as garlands around our trees, and I'm just trying to decide which one I want where. I want to show you all of these just to give you an example, and then one of these I will tell you that I didn't really care for the coloring with it. I don't think it showed very well, so totally up to you what colors. They come in all different kind of colors. You could even use green here if you wanted. Now I made a loop on the end and then pushed it down. You can use a little hot glue to hold it in place. I am loosely wrapping this around, and because it's on wire, you can make it hold its own shape, and then use a dot of glue here and there just to hold it to the outside, because if you pull it tightly, it's going to go into the inside of that pine cone and practically disappear. And since we want this to look like a Christmas tree, we want the decoration to be on the outside, right? If you chose to use something like little string lights or something here, you could certainly do that too. I'm just not a big fan of having a big box with a battery in it where you can see it. I like all that to be sort of hidden, so I just left that out and then decided to use some candles, some flameless candles with the little decoration set up. So just a few dots of hot glue here and there to make sure that it stays on the line where I had it and where I want it. And just patiently holding it in place for just a moment until the glue has a chance to sit up and grab. Just takes a little extra time. And you remember what I told you, little extra time does not mean it's harder to do. It just, just takes a little longer. Now this is the one where I didn't feel like it really showed up enough. Had I bleached or dipped these cones, this would have been beautiful. This strand has like a very deep red and a burgundy color on there. Very pretty together, but because it's so dark and the insides of the pine cone are so very dark, also they kind of disappear. But I've got a way of fixing that. So I've already done the gold one here, and we're going to embellish the top with some more pine cones. Why not? So these came from a bag of scatter that I got from Dollar Tree a few years ago. They still make it, and my trees, I have seen this recently. So you can certainly pick something up like this. I know they have some with snow, and maybe they have some small ones that don't have snow. I'm not entirely sure. Only ones I have the snow look on them. These are going to be like a tree topper, and I'm just going to make a small little bundle up there on the top. I'm just putting them here and there where they fit together. I think it gives it a pretty little look, especially with the white trunk that we have made there. You see, that's just so dark, but I thought, hey, okay, for this tree, let's use these pine cones inside the big pine cone to give it some decoration and to really give it a better look. So they're going to be a little different, each one of them, but I still think that put together in a trio, they make an interesting look. And using baby pine cones with the big pine cone, I think it turned out really nice. You'll have to tell me what you think though. And I'm just placing them here and there, just as you would when you were decorating a Christmas tree. Making sure that you don't have too many too close together or right side by side. And just kind of look here and there, turn it from side to side, and decide how many that you want to put. And they're so small, they just nestle right down. Pine cones also are, I wouldn't say flexible necessarily, but you can move those woody pieces around a bit so you can get the look that you're going for. And then of course we have to do the top. So I put one of the bigger ones on the top, and we're moving on to the one with the white. And we'll put a little cluster on the top of that one also. Right in the middle of the top of the pine cone is one little piece that sticks up like a short little branch or a short little stem, and then there's a little dip and the little cone pieces start. So it makes a great little place to just nestle those in there together. And I love these three. I think they're very cute, simple, easy to do. These were easy and so inexpensive because I barely paid anything. Stuff I already had. And then the stuff that I got, out of the woods. And it's got some good memories because we, as a family, went and found those pieces. And my son, yeah, he was really big in finding the pieces. He was going everywhere. We had to keep stopping the golf cart because he was, hey mama, look at this. Hey mama, I found another one. It was a lot of fun. I love when the kids can help. So this beautiful satin ribbon from Dollar Tree, I knew this had to go on the tree that had the reddish colored twine around it. If you can't find the berry vine or you don't like it, you could always use some type of jute or colored jute to go around it. You could use a really thin tinsel. You can use a ribbon to go around your tree. Just take the videos that I give you and the crafts that I do as inspiration and make it your own. And I think that's really cute. Some more Dollar Tree ribbon, and this is just sort of like a linen, looks sort of burlap colored. It's just a natural color with gold trim. I'll make a little bow for that. Then you can dovetail your ends, or you can cut them at a slant. You can leave them long, or you can wrap them around the tree, or you can just make them short and put them up towards your topper section, like I'm doing here. And I put that one on the one with the gold. And then I've got some of this, it's like cotton cord. It's sort of fragile. There's only, you can see how it looks. There's only just a little bit left on the roll, so I'm working with that. I just doubled it over. It's about probably 14 inches per strand, and I have 2 strands. I'm just going to make a shoestring bow. Wrap those together and pull them gently, because if you pull too hard, this will just come undone completely. So I'm trying to be careful. I'm usually kind of tough on my ribbons, but being very careful. And this will make a little doubled bow look. I think it's pretty too with the white. And then I'll just cut my ends. I initially cut them even and put them on the top here. You can fluff out your 2 different layers of ribbon so that you have where it looks like it's 4, and I put it right toward the top. And then pull my little ends apart, and I decide to cut those at different lengths just to give it a little more interest. I do that on both sides. It's a very, to me, like a more natural look. Very woodland and country. I like it. You can watch my videos Mondays and Thursdays. I'll see you there. The next is going to be a greeting card ornament. This little tag is from Dollar Tree. I've got 2 sticks, a little Adirondack white paint and a brush, a variety of ribbons, a glue stick. This is my lovely purple glue sticks that I love to use, and a card that I got from the thrift store. Use any card you like, y'all, any card you like. I'm gonna take that staple out, throw it away, and save this for another project. These are kind of rough around the edges and they're not very smooth, and I want a nice smooth surface with no lumps and bumps, so I'm going over it with my little sander, which came from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go around my edges and on both sides. Instead of using the side with the slat look, I'm going to use the flat back side and paint it white. I'm going to wipe off my little sawdust first. Don't want to muddy up my paint. Love chalk paint. It dries quickly and it gives a good coverage. I'll dry it. And I'm going to address the card over here. So I'll take the back section off of the card. I do not need that, but I can save it for other things. I'll use some walnut paint to go over the edges where my paint overlapped. You don't have to, but I just like to do that. And then I'll choose what position I want this to be on this ornament. I'm taking my vanishing purple glue stick and I'll go all over this section. No need to put it all the way to the top because it is not going to reach up there. And then I'm making sure that it gets on the edges and that I'm not leaving any lumps in there. You can see it starts to fade. And then I'll place the card down where I get the best part of the picture. The most part of the picture I want to capture anyway. And I love this little watercolor look, and it's really pretty. I've got my Mod Podge squeegee, and I'm just going to go kind of toward the middle and outward, or at least take all of the strokes outward in case there are any bubbles or lumps of glue that will push them straight out the edges and I can clean it up. And I want to be sure this card does not come off, so I am really working on it to keep it in place. You can go around the edges too, just a little to push down to make sure that it's grabbing that glue. Just an extra step. Not something you have to do, it's just something I like to do. I'm going to go around with my scissors and trim off the excess. You don't have to make it completely flush because we're going to fix it. And then if you knock anything loose when you're trimming it here, just go ahead and take your squeegee and go back over the top to make sure it's flat. Give it a little time to dry, and then you can grab a piece of sandpaper and just start sanding downward and outward to get off any little edge pieces that you need to take off. Very easy to do. I do this all of the time. I'm keeping my thumb over the card just to make sure if anything slides, I'm catching it so I can put it back, but it never moves. In my experience, it has not moved yet. Look how pretty that is by itself. But you know I've got to embellish it. I've got to fool around with it. So I'm choosing a branch, and I'm going to choose some pine cones to add to it. Now these pine cones have a little paint coloring. It looks like paint on them, but I decided to make these brown. So if you decide to go with a brown theme and all you can find are the white ones, grab some dark brown paint in a rough or a stiff brush. Just dab into it, take a little off, and just color right over those spots. You can change the color of that pine cone. If you want to paint these gold, you could. If you wanted to paint them silver, you could. You can paint them. We can change things, can't we? Just takes a little extra time, and they'll dry, and then you'll get the look that you're going for. Just wanted to show y'all that. Don't feel too limited by what you have at your own stores. Alright, I am going to add a little glue, and this is going to go on the edge of the card. Pressing this stick down in there. This is the one that I chose. I like that it's a little curvy stick, and it almost looks like pine, and I like that. I'll add some hot glue and put the pine cones on. I'm just going to kind of arrange them in an order that looks like I might find them if it fell on the ground. I grew up in the country and I live in the country now, so I'm kind of familiar with these things, but if you don't know, don't be stressed by it. You just do the best you can, okay? Just do the best you can. And if you ever need reference, just Google pine branches or pine trees, or, you know, and that'll give you an idea if you just need to have that in your mind when you do it. So I'm taking the brush and I'm just going to go over the edges here just a little bit to kind of, you know, keep that rustic look going. Now I've chose my dark brown, very thin ribbon here to make a hanger for the back of this sign. I had some other options, but I just chose to use this one. It's a little more simple considering what we have going on in the card. I don't feel like I need anything more than this for it. I'm going to add hot glue. Slide the knot into the hot glue and then go right over the top of it. And then by adding just a little slip of scrap paper, you got everything held in place. Now once I looked at it, I thought, let's go ahead and grab the last little piece of this little branch that fell off of the other pieces I did the swag with. I'm just going to use 2 little pieces of it to go on here. These also can be painted. They're just green like a rubbery plastic. They could be painted if you wanted to change the color, but I'm fine with it like it is. And I'll place them wherever. Everything doesn't have to be symmetrical, right? And look, y'all be proud of me. There is no bow in here. Isn't that wonderful? It didn't need it. I think it looked perfect just like that. I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to all of my subscribers and to all of my members who make these videos possible. Thank you for all the support that you've given me in a little bit of downtime that I desperately needed. I appreciate that more than you will ever know. I believe in you, and I know that these are things that you can do. I really want you today to take the word joy to heart. Please find some joy in your life. Come to my channel. I'm going to encourage you. I am going to boost you up. I'm going to give you as much love as I can over the airways, you know? I'm going to try to make you believe in yourself. I'm going to try to show you how valuable you truly are. The first project will be a candle cloche. We'll start off with a little flameless candle. Check your batteries first. We're going to use a silver and a gray. Also going to use a red and green. A variety of paintbrushes, whichever one you like, and a chippy brush. This is a little holly piece that I have. It's ceramic. I'm going to paint it. And then a bag of this scatter from Dollar Tree. And a cloche, of course. This is plastic. This is from Temu. This is not a sponsored video, but it is a beautiful, beautiful decal. This is just a wall decal, and we're going to have 3 different projects from this decal. All right, we'll start with the cloche. We're going to, I love using these little wax papers. They work really well. You can get them at Dollar Tree for small projects like this. I'm going to put this medium gray on here first, just painting over this black to give it more of a a natural look instead of being so plasticky. You know, it just kind of brings up the look of it to give it a little more of an expensive look. Paint the whole thing, put your spectacles on, and then I'm going to go on to painting my holly leaves. I've just chosen, I think this is like a regular green color. It's not anything special, I think. I'm going to paint that, and then I'll turn it around and paint this cardinal red on the berries. Now, holly leaves have a shiny finish, and both of these paints are matte, so we are going to address that and fix that. Then I'll take my brush silver, and I'll go over the gray finish on the bottom. I'm going to very, very lightly dry brush this. I'm not using a very heavy hand at all. I just want to give it a little bit of shine. Just a little bit. I don't want to cheapen it. If you prefer gold, or you have more gold in whatever decals you use, then go ahead and use that instead. The tone on the writing on my decal is like a bluish gray, so that's why I went with these colors. And then I'm just making sure that I dry brush over the lip. Alright, so now I have a classic green and a stiffer brush, and I'll add a little bit of detail onto the leaves. After they are dry, of course, I'm going to sort of dry brush over the ends. Holly leaves have like a little, not a barb, but like a little thorny edge. So each of those little points actually have a little, like a little sticker on them, or a little thorn. They're very prickly. If you've ever seen one, you know, they're prickly. Right where the green and the red overlap, I had a little bit of red. So now I'm just going to go ahead and lighten that up a little bit so that we can just really to give it more detail and crisp it up a little. I'm using a little different brush to go right in the center to achieve this look. It's very subtle. Then I'm going to get my gloss Mod Podge, and I'll paint the berries. Very easy to do. I focused only on the berries at this point because I didn't know if there was going to be any bleed through, and I didn't want to smear any of that red onto the green paint job that I just did. And then I'll go over onto the green side. I'm trying to make my strokes actually follow the way the leaf is, so starting, you know, sort of in the middle and going upward and outward toward the point, in case any of the strokes that I use were to show up. I want it to look more natural. And this is how this is going to look dried. Very nice. Now, in that bag of scatter, there is some greenery, and there's a wire that goes around the bottom. So the wire I wrapped around the candle to get the right size. The berries are not going to fit in my cloche, so they will be removed. But for now, you get the point. We're going to take that wire base with a little bit of floral wire and just twist the green pieces on. I had 2 bags, but I only wanted to use one because I'm trying to keep this video very simple, very first time friendly, and very, very strict budget. All right. Then we'll just sort of overlap. There's going to be some gaps between, but you know, that's necessary because we only have 3 pieces to work with. So I just want to be sure that they're evenly spaced. And then we'll do the same thing over here. They're all going in the same direction. You know, this video and this channel is all about budget-friendly DIYs. It's about keeping things as high-end as you can, but spending as little money as you can, and still trying to be creative and making it unique. Okay, so now I can pull off the berries and use a little wire cutter for any pieces that have paint on them that you don't want to show up. You can just clip those off. You can see on the table that there are some pieces that I had to clip off that had paint on them. So now this is going to fit on the inside. Tested it out, it will fit. Put it on the inside first. You don't have to worry about smushing down your leaves. Just put it inside the cloche and then cap it off with the bottom. Now, if you have a big dome and a small candle, you can add any type of scatter you want to in the bottom. That would be really pretty. You could really make it look as nice as you would like. But now I have some pine cones left over for another project. So once you have cleaned your cloche with some alcohol or some, glass cleaner, even though this is plastic, you can go ahead and dry it and apply your sticker. Now what I love about these in particular is that they have like a vinyl top type feel, so you can actually lift them up and reposition them, and that makes it great for me because I don't like to measure, right? I just don't like to have to do all that. I want to get my crafts done and out to y'all quickly, but to be more precise, you can measure and do all that. I'm going to rub it down with my fingers because this is a round surface and I don't want to scratch that plastic. Now this is going to go right on the top. There's a little sort of indentation on the top, or a little button circular area. I'm going to use some E6000 to make sure this does not come off. I won't actually be using this to pull the cloche off, but I think it's a cute little decor piece. So I'll put it down right where I want it. You can give that E6000 a minute or two before you add your piece on, and it'll get gummy and it'll stick better. I'm just using a touch of hot glue to help support it until that E6000 is firm and has set up completely. And then I have a little floral pick that I'm wiping off my excess. Okay, so this is it once it is dry and set up. This is the top. And here is our candle. Once you slide that in and put on the base, you don't want to use a chalk paint because it'll make it really difficult to get the cloche back on the base. All right, and as it is, it was a tight squeeze, but it's not going anywhere. Very easy, and I know that you can do this. I want to say thank you to all of my channel members. You guys rock, and I'm having a lot of fun with y'all. Thank you. The next is a box planter. I'm going to use a scrap of floral foam, some sanding tools, a little box. You can get little boxes like this at Dollar Tree. Another piece of our decal, and this is a thrifted pick of holly. I'm going to cut off one little section because this is going to go into our planter box. We're going to get it decorated, and then we're going to have a cute little piece to go in the middle. You can measure the side and cut it down so you have the right length. I'm going to sand all of that stain off of one side. I looked at the box from all the sides, so I chose the one that I like the best, and I wanted a flat side, so this is it. Once it is sanded, really makes a difference between the two, right? Now you're going to have some options here because I did play around with this. Find the right positioning. Be sure you wipe the dust off before you put your decal down, and then I'm going to rub it on with my finger. Small pieces are very simple to put down, and then I'm just going to use my Cricut tool to go over this and keep it in place. Now if you want to darken this back up to match the rest of the box, you can go ahead and go around the edges. And where it's a little heavy on the corner, I'm going to show you how you can fix that. This is just wax. This is not like a paint, so once you put it down, you have a little time to wipe it and to fix it before it is permanent. Alright, now if you like the lighter color on the background, wipe the decal off, and I actually like that look myself. But if you want to blur it out a little bit, you can take your chippy brush and go over the edges of it to kind of feather it in a little bit more, give it more of an aged look. See, look, we're going to take that heavy corner off with the sandpaper and then just touch that corner back up. Or you can use a finger dauber and that same wax and go all around the edge to blend it out. You can go all the way up to the leaf. And another option, of course, is to fussy cut that leaf and berries out, and then you won't have an edge at all. It's whatever you prefer, whatever you like best. But I needed to put it on top of a lighter color so that you could see the depth and the color in the berries and the leaf. Okay, so we're going to measure down a piece of scrap floral foam, or whatever foam you have. You can use a piece of pool noodle if it'll fit in your little box. You can trim it up. And I know that this is going to fit when I stab it with my paintbrush to lift it out. Add a little bit of glue in the bottom. You can use whatever glue you want because it is going to melt slightly. That's okay for this purpose. We're going to pop that holly leaf right on the inside. Now be sure you give those leaves and berries a good fluff. I love how these are red on the underside, like a burgundy color. It's really pretty. Now we're going to do a little something extra. If you have some beads from Dollar Tree, these are not beads, but they're little like nail plugs. I'm going to use these to make feet on this box. And you can just do this with some, like I said, some beads from Dollar Tree. You can buy the light color and the dark color. I have seen them both in a crafter square. So if you see something like that, you could use it. You could also use those little square wood pieces from the crafter's square. Go ahead and stain those the same color as your project or color them. And then you can use those on the bottom to make little feet. Just a couple of different ideas. If you like it sitting flat, you can certainly do that as well. But I want to always bring to you lots of options so that you can make it your own. Alright, I'm just going to take a little bit of that wax and go back over where these pieces need to be blended in so that they look like they belong there and they don't stick out. Doesn't take a lot, just covering up that raw wood on the bottom side. You're going to let it dry. And this is the little arrangement. Tiny, easy, can fit on a coffee bar. If you would like, you could give this as a gift. Very, very simple, but still lovely, I think. The next project is a half moon art piece. Okay, I'm going to use some gray wood tint, but you can choose whatever color you like. Adirondack white and a brush, my goodness. And then the rest of this beautiful transfer. And if I've been calling this a stencil, I do that sometimes and I'm crazy. Y'all know what I mean though. So this is just a piece that I thrifted. It is a great little piece of wood to work with. You could use the back or you could use the front. I think maybe a puzzle was in here at some point. It does have a little bit of damage to the wood, but you can always fix it with wood filler or with a little bit of lightweight spackling. This came from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go right inside the little, I'm going to say there's a crack, but it doesn't go all the way through the wood. It's just a blemish in the wood. And then I will use some type of a squeegee to get the excess off and allow that to dry. After it is dry, I'm going to take a sanding block, also from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to go all around this frame. Because they don't do a lot of detail work on these, you could have some splintering, some rough areas, and you never want to have to worry about that when you're changing out your decor. Give it a good sanding, front and back sides, trim, and over that area that we corrected, and then be sure that you get a clean dry cloth and wipe off every bit of the dust. So this is what the gray tint looks like, and I'm going to put this all the way over the border of this side because I want to use this side of it rather than the other side. Puzzle boxes from kids are really great to use for this sort of thing, but if you don't have this, use any type of flat wood or cardboard or MDF surface that you have to put yours on. I'm also going to go around right around the edges in the bottom because it is not oil based. You can actually put paint right on top of this and it won't bleed through. Just a little tip for you. There's a difference between antiquing wax and the stains or the tints, the wood tints. Okay, so once it is dry, and I did 2 coats of the white paint in the inside, I'm going to peel off this beautiful transfer. Now, this transfer, I'm telling you, I can't say enough how wonderful, and again, not sponsored, but this transfer is fantastic. It's a big piece. If you're not comfortable working with a big piece, I'm kind of used to it now, but if you're not comfortable, cut that thing in half, long ways. Just cut it in half, and it's easier to work with. But look, I'm going to start in the middle. I've already looked at it to see how I want to position the sides. You can just lean it over and work with one side from the middle outward. So I'm in the middle, I'm using my fingers, I'm pushing down any wrinkle or bubble that might be underneath. If you do have an issue, you can lift back up on it and then press it back down. I'm going to use my fingernail and kind of push it into the sides there. So you see that fell and it shouldn't have been down yet. It was leaving a wrinkle or a crease. I just lifted it back up. I'm going to push it back down and then take my fingernail, go around And then you can use a squeegee if you would like, but be sure you get it tight, all those pieces tight next to that trim. And then what you don't see is me using my razor knife to go around and cut off the extra pieces and throw those away, the pieces that are bumped up against the edge. So here it is once it's complete. Beautiful. Now look at all the options you have for this, for orientation. Any way that you want to use this piece, you can use it. I'm going to use it as a half moon. I'm going to flip it over. We'll make a hanger for the back with some scraps of cardboard and a little piece of jute. I'm going to make this where I can slide it back and forth to make sure it doesn't tilt. Use whatever type of hanger. If you're confident in the placement in the middle, go ahead and put it there. But I will warn you, if you get it off center, it's going to hang crooked. This way, I'm pretty much assured that wherever I put it, it's going to hang straight. And this is how mine will be. You can seal it with some Mod Podge. I would probably use a mat. I have not sealed mine though. I'm fine with it just like it is. All of these pieces, of course, would be best used indoors. Here is our Christmas backdrop. I'm working on it. It's still a work in progress, you know. And no, for those of you who are concerned, I am not expecting any of you to go out and get rid of your Halloween decor and your fall decor. No, no, no. This is what I do for a living, so I have to bring you the things early, right? So that you can get your inspiration and buy the things you need for when you do want to start crafting. The first project will be a bird hanger. So here's my little inspiration, my sticker. This is from Temu. Beautiful little bird on the pine cone. Love it. This I got at the thrift store, and it looks like it came from Target originally, but you can find these little DIY kits at Dollar Tree, something similar. You know, you can get the inspiration, right? So I have the ceramic middle piece where the bird will go. It also comes with 2 of these little diamond-shaped wood pieces, a tassel, and a length of like rope or something that looks like it's like faux leather. It also has very good directions on the back, and I'm just keeping it here so I can assemble it correctly. I'm going to take him off of here. I didn't need any special preparation because there's no coating on here. It's just like a clay type texture, so it's very rough. I didn't need to clean it with alcohol. If you have shiny pieces, go ahead and clean it with alcohol first so you don't have fingerprints and stuff that keep your adhesive from sticking your 2 pieces together. Once I've got him in the right position, I'm just going to press it down with my fingers, and then it's got a really good grip, so I didn't even bother using a squeegee on it. No bubbles, everything went great. I'm going to use my antiquing wax and a stiff brush. I don't have really small chippy brushes, so I'm just using this. It's kind of like a stencil brush. I'm just going to use this and offload most of that wax onto that piece of plastic under there. And then I'll just start flicking it all around the edges and build up gradually to the depth of shadowing that I like. It's very difficult to take this off on a porous surface if you get too much on. So, you know, if you are very certain the first time you lay that brush down, then more power to you. But for me, I don't always trust my hands, so I just like to build mine up. I'll go all around the edges, and then you can also go around the sides too if you want to do that. So if you can't find a kit like this, you can always find 2 wood pieces and a piece of wood maybe to go in the center. You could just do all wood. Drill you some holes in here and make your own. You can use twine or jute, anything that you like to connect your pieces together. And, you know, you can make a tassel or you can leave the tassel off. Totally up to you. Now you can see here how I'm just building it more and more toward the center. And then going over the edges just a little, just to give you an idea. Then I'll start dragging it inward, but I don't want to get it too close to the edge of that sticker because then you'll see that white outline, and I don't want that on this particular project. So I've just sped this up just a touch, just to keep you from being bored with me. And I'll go all around here, just giving it some shadow. Continuing along with that aged look, we're going to do that on the wood pieces as well. And I am putting this down. Now the wood is sanded, very well sanded. It may actually be coated with something. I couldn't feel it to really know for sure. But yeah, I just went ahead and got a little more heavy-handed with this. I'm more comfortable with this because it's already a darker shade because it's wood. And then the little circling in the middle was just kind of fading it into the to the middle, so there's not any really harsh lines there. And I'll just keep on going. You know, in nature there are shadows everywhere, and I think I try to keep that in mind when I'm doing crafts that are nature inspired, that there are always shadows and there are always different depths and coloring in wood and different, and even in leaves and stuff like that, you know, in our birds too. So I like to kind of copy nature, kind of go along with it, no fighting it, right? I've got an artificial branch here, but you can use something right out of your yard if you want. And I'm just going to cut the little pieces off of this pick to use on these two little diamond pieces. And I've got two little pieces of pine cones, and they just came out of a bag of scatter from Dollar Tree, just in the regular sections. It's not holiday type thing, but they probably have some for holidays too. I have not looked at any Dollar Tree stuff that's Christmas related yet. Have not been. It's been so busy here at my house. It's busy this time of year anyway, so yeah, I haven't even been in Dollar Tree looking for it. Isn't that something? I'm gonna have to get out. I'm really gonna have to get out. All right, so I'm gonna trim down this other piece to make it look, because it was kind of in the middle, to make it look a little bit like a pointed leaf, so it looks like, or not a leaf, you know what I mean, the needles, so that they look like the end of the branch. And similar to the other piece. Not twins, but maybe distant cousins, right? Kind of like how I say my eyebrows are. They're definitely not twins. Not even sisters. They're definitely not speaking to each other, whatever's going on up there. Okay, so now I'm just going to use a little hot glue and put these pieces down. I am kind of reflecting what's already going on in that sticker that I used, that beautiful bird sticker. And I'm just going to add pieces down here. Now, if you don't have that bird sticker, what else could you do? You could use a stencil. You can cut out of a beautiful card. Maybe there's a gift card that you have that, not a gift card, you know what I mean. A card that's beautiful that you love. Go ahead and just kind of cut around there, and then you can use your Mod Podge and attach it down. There's so many ways to do things that you never have to do it exactly like me. You can do it any way you like. Make it your own. That's what this channel is all about. Make it your own. Find some joy in your crafting, in your creations, in your artistry. Find some joy in your life. Okay, so now that my pieces are done and dried, I am going to connect them together. I'm just cutting not any specific length here. This is probably maybe 5 inches. I have to have enough there to start with so that I can make the knots. So I've got to have enough room to get my fingers around that piece of string to make it into a knot. And then I'll just glue the knot onto the back of the pieces so they won't move around, and just give it a little, a little more security so it doesn't slip out. And then I'll trim off the little bit of excess that I have left. I've already done that on the top, and now we'll go down to the bottom piece, and I want to make sure that my knots are on the back, so I'm going through the back to put those on. Tie it down, add a little glue, and then pull it right into the glue to keep it in place. And like I said, you don't have this, don't worry about it. Use a very thin ribbon, use baker's twine, you could even use colored jute. And maybe you don't like the woodland theme. You can use this inspiration and do something glam, you know. You could do something farmhouse with something like this. Definitely. You could do something boho. Whatever you like. So if you can't get something through, use a needle or something. I just grabbed the end of a piece of that pick that I cut off. It's got a point on it, and just help push that right through that hole. Because it can be frustrating trying to, and I didn't even have my glasses on, y'all. I don't know what I was thinking. I was in a rush and excited to be able to go see my oldest son. I went and spent the weekend with him and his wife, and it was his birthday weekend, and we had a lot of fun. I love all 4 of my babies, all of them, and they'll always be my babies. Okay, so now you got the idea. You don't want to glue it to the table, so be sure your glue is dry before you flip it over. And then I'm just going to make a very simple tie for the top. Go in the bottom, pull it to the top. I'll tie a double knot here. You could call it a square knot. I'm not even entirely sure that's what it is, but it doesn't slip once you get it tied. And then I will add some glue on it, on the back, kind of drape it around there. There we go. Pull it around so it's flat on the back and you don't see that knot. And then everything looks nice and neat from the front. You could always use this in your Christmas tree if you wanted. You could hang it in the place of a wreath. You could hang it on a thin wall, a skinny wall. How beautiful would this be at maybe an assisted living facility where you could, you know, where they have their little doors and put their little decorations up? It would be such a quick and easy, I think, way to just send a little love to somebody who might not get told every day, you know? We kind of take for granted when we get a hug from our grandbaby or from our kids that some people don't see their children. And it's holiday season. Share the love. If y'all have got too many crafts just sitting around, take them to the nursing home. Take them to a rehab facility, to a women's shelter. Those people love things like this. It's such a sweet sentiment. I also love all my subscribers and viewers. The next is a mushroom ornament. We're going to use a little bit of moss. An ornament from Dollar Tree. Be sure that it's the type that has the screw-off lid. A little faux branch. I pulled this out of an old wreath. And then these came from Hobby Lobby on clearance, on fall clearance or sale. A little wood piece. Okay, now, so we're going to start to assemble this somewhat. I went ahead and grabbed this because it looks like it has pebbles or like rounded pieces, so I just went with that. But you could certainly glue your moss down there if you would like. Protect your fingers though, because moss is thin and you will burn yourself. I'm going to make sure this is right in the center so I can still screw the top down. So now, see there? Perfect. We still have a little gap though, but we're going to address that. I've got some, I believe this is my English ivy. It's just a dark green color. And I'm going to put it right around over the silver in there so that you won't see it. It'll kind of blend out, create a little bit of a shadow, and you won't be able to see that. Much better, much better. Now, I'm going to put my mushroom in there and see how high I want it to be and if it's going to fit. These are foam, so they're easy to cut, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to trim off a little. And then if you take the ends of these particular ones from Hobby Lobby, you can pinch them down and they look, strangely enough, like they would when they were actually picked out of the ground. It's really strange, but they dimple nicely and fold whenever you use them with, you know, just use your fingers to kind of pinch them and they'll have that nice look. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue and I'll put it down in that moss pebble and I will put some right on the bottom of here and hold it for just a bit. Take your time, hold it, it's going to take a minute to set up. Cool temp glue is going to be your best friend for a project like this. And then I'm going to take I'm going to throw it across the table because you know that's what I do. I'm going to add just a little bit of these little pieces of branch here. You know, if you see a mushroom in the ground and they grow, they just push up whatever is around it. It doesn't matter. They can push a rock up if they want to. They push up leaves, they push the dirt up, they push up branches, and I love the thought of this just coming up right around the branches. So, now I'm going to make sure that everything fits, and of course do that before you glue anything. Make sure it fits, just keep putting the lid back on. And now we're going to make a base for this, because I'm not particularly happy with the fact that 1, it's silver, and 2, it looks way too small for this upside down. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and make a different bottom so that you won't even be able to tell this had a silver top on it at all. I've got it glued down, making sure that this wood slice is big enough for me to put some of this moss on, and then I'll just be tucking some moss right into the glue. I'll go up on the lid. That's going to help keep everything stuck together also. A little more security. And then I'll just start taking that and pushing it in. Y'all, please protect your little pinkies, your little fingers, okay? Protect your fingers. Like I was in a rush and I didn't do that, but yeah, no permanent damage to the fingertips. I can still feel everything, and I'm pretty sure the cops could find me if they were to take, lift any prints. I'm pretty sure I'm good as that, as far as that goes. Now I'm going to just continue around, all the way around, and tuck this moss in. You can use brown moss, you can use sheet moss, whatever you want to use for this. I like the idea of using this loose moss because it hangs off and it looks like, like maybe it actually grew this way. Of course, a jar wouldn't grow in nature, but you get what I'm saying. So far, so good. I like the look of this. This is pretty, but you could trim yours off if you wanted. Now, I don't like the idea of having the silver top, so I'm just going to take the same green paint that I used already, and I'm going to put that on here. And to make it easier on myself, I saved a little brush handle, like from a foam brush, a little pouncer, and I just put a little hot glue on there so that I could hold this while I paint it, and then I could set it down into something and have the lid dry, which is perfect, or the little cap there. So it's going to be green, and then I won't be putting that little hangy part back in there. Not going to use that. We're going to try something else. So once it's dry, I'm going to take a little bit of jute, and I'll use that in here. You can push these pieces out. They kind of, they're in individual little pieces. Like, I don't really know how to explain that, but you know what the tops look like on ornaments. They have to be able to flex open so that they can fit over the top of the ornament. So you can push those out a little bit to use to your advantage if you want to add something that has bulk, like a piece of string or something. And then you still get the perfect fit. So you just add a little bit of glue in there, and you slip the top on, making sure that it's even when it hangs, and we achieve that. And it'll stay in place. Now, you know me, I'm going to add some more because that's how I do things. I'm going to add some more right onto the top, and then I'm going to add some more on the other side. But you can skip this part. Definitely can skip it. You can wrap jute all the way around the top instead of putting a hanger on there if you wanted to. You could just use this as a sitting piece, and you can also use this like on a tiered tray if you do tiered trays. Think of all the options, all the different colored mushrooms, the different colored moss. You could just make a variety of these and hang them off of your tree, and I think they would be lovely. Yes, I'm liking it so far, but I'm going to grab some little pine cones and add those too, because these are not just woodland, but they're woodland holiday pieces. So, our mind goes to pine trees and fir and conifers and things like that, so I want to use the pine cones here just to give it more of a little wintry look. Not everybody gets snow for winter. Some people have very cold winters with no snow at all, so you wouldn't see snow and frost necessarily on the winter pieces. We got to think about everybody, don't we? Don't worry, I'll be having some snowy things too. No worries. I love this, and I hope y'all love it too. The next is going to be a candle round. I'm going to grab some of these moss stones. They came from Temu. These thrifted little mushrooms. This moss mat from Temu. And then a wreath that I already had. Love the size of this wreath and the opening. I've got 3 candles from Dollar Tree, or you can use a flameless candle, whatever you like. I'm going to lay this mat on top, and I'm going to kind of feel with my hands to see how much I'm going to need to overlap so that it touches the table, because I want it to be almost completely to the bottom. Then I'll just take my scissors and cut all the way around. This stuff is so good. This is not a sponsored video, but oof, this moss is amazing. It's not on one of those plastic backs. It's actually kind of a woven texture, so it's going to be great for how we attach it to this piece. All right. Again, I'm pushing with my hands, trying to make sure, almost like when you put a pie crust down on top of your pie. you know, where you put the little top layer on top of the pie. You want to make sure that it reaches the edges and stretch a little bit. I'm trying to make sure that I have enough of a pocket on the inside for later. And I'm going to just feel my way around here. And I know that it is cut where it needs to be. I'm going to use my floral wire to attach this. I'm not going to use hot glue because this is woven. It's going to go through, this wire will go through here, disappear into the depths, and will wrap around that wreath very easily. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to poke it through there, get a nice good branch in there, twist it around, and then you can either cut it off or you can push it back up into the wreath because it's not going to get in your way. I'm going to go down a couple of inches. You can go across if you need to, but since I'm not stretching, I can just go side to side. I'll feed that through there, making sure that I catch the moss mat and piece of the wicker from the wreath underneath. Twist it and then push it now. What I'm doing is this is on the underside of it. This is not on the side of it. I don't want to see any of that ugly wire. I just want this to look like this has grown over it. So I'm just going to continue around until I have as much as I feel like I need to keep it steady and in place. I'm going to do the whole thing. Nice. So now we'll work in the middle. And what I'm doing is pushing with my hands to make sure, again, that it goes all the way down to the table and that it will open up enough that I can put candles in the middle. You can use this technique if you use smaller mushrooms to make a wreath. Wholly up to you which way you want to orient this. But my mushrooms were big, and the way I have them sitting, they just don't look right as a wreath. This is definitely for candles. Take the inspiration. Okay, so I'm just cutting a few pieces to make it easier on myself, and you can certainly do this too. Then I'll flip it over and start working on the inside. I'm going to pull it upward. I'm not going to pull too tight though, because I don't want to make gaps in the front. I want it still to look thick and lush and cushiony, like when you're barefoot walking through moss under a big oak tree. Oh, there's nothing like it. I just love it. Okay. Squishing it, pulling it tight, twisting it around, and then poking it back in the wreath. Then I'll make sure that I can put a couple of snips in there when I need to, just to open it up, make it easier on myself, and continue along until every bit of this middle is opened up so we can set our candles on the inside. This is easy to do, y'all. It really is. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, so, you know, I like to lay my pieces out first to get an idea. So I'm just taking some of these little moss-covered stones. They're actually just pieces of foam with the fabric on top of them, but they look good, don't they? Now, you can put one by itself. You can do some side by side. You can do this evenly if you like that type of a pattern. It's totally up to you. I decided to just kind of work in clumps and work here and there all over the thing in no particular pattern. Just going with your gut. Y'all know what I mean by that. Just going with your gut. You get lost in it and you just, whatever. So this is another mushroom. I'm just going to trim a little and I'm going to tuck it in there. If I open up a little bit of that mossy mat, it can go right down to the wood underneath, which gives it even more security, which is always a good thing. I'm going to add them here and there. You can also use them to help support your mushrooms if they're big like mine and they want to kind of hang to the side, you know, list a little to the left, list a little to the right. Gives it a little more support. And then, see, this is the big mushroom. I'm trying to push him down in there a little bit more so that it doesn't overwhelm the entire piece. Then I'm going to take these little pine cones, just like we did in the ornament, and I'm going to add them here and there just to add that little hint of winter. And I'm not going to overwhelm it. I'm not going to just go nuts with it. I'm just going to do a little here and there. And you may as well extend it down the sides, because if it's sitting on a table someplace, you want to have something pretty to look at from all angles, right? And you want your guests to see something pretty from all angles. Y'all, this would be such a pretty, really fairly simple thing to make as a gift for someone as well. So I want to show you what it looks like with a single in the middle, just a battery operated candle. Or if you want to use tall candles from Dollar Tree. Now they have to be way taller than your mushrooms. It won't catch anything on fire. Okay, so here are the projects that beautiful little bird hanger. Y'all, I gotta tell you, I got some friend mail and I was not expecting it, and it was a surprise, and I'm so thankful. You know who you are. I don't know if I can mention your name or not, but bless your heart, you are the sweetest. I am going to put those tools that you sent me to good use. She sent me acorn ornaments, paintbrush kit, and then a bunch of chalk paint brushes. They are beautiful. The quality is stunning. I am just absolutely in love. I can't tell you what a sweet, sweet surprise it was to come home and see that package sitting on my bed. Oh my goodness. Thank you so, so much. The first project is a holly deer basket. We're going to start off with some pieces of holly. These are just 2 pieces that are thrifted. This one is actually a candle ring, and they're just kind of plasticky. Not a problem. This is a little deer I've had in my Christmas collection for years, and I'm going to be needing some floral foam. Here is a little basket. It is a very shallow basket. I don't know how to exactly describe it to you, but I thrifted it. And down in the bottom, we're going to be placing our foam. So I'm just going to put these pieces, and I got this, these foam pieces are actually some that I've recycled from other arrangements, but you can get them from Dollar Tree in a 4-pack. And I'll just attach those down to this basket with some pipe cleaners. Going to go right over the top and then just through the weave of the bottom. Y'all have to excuse my voice today. I have been sick. Started off with my son, and then everybody in our family has gotten sick about 4 days into each other's illnesses. So we have not been feeling well, and I still sound rough. Plus we've had some personal things happen in our family lately, and it's just, I think, allowing the illness to stick with me more than it normally would. So yeah, if y'all could just keep our family in your prayers right now, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will continue on here. So this is some thick double stick mounting tape, and I'm just going to put it over the holes in the bottom and cut some floral pick pieces that were left over. I'm going to cut these on a slant so they almost have like a pointy tip, and we'll use these to attach this little deer down to the foam. I've added a little hot glue on the tip, and then I'm going to push it into the foam. It's going to pierce the foam, and it's going to help it to stick in there. And we'll do the same thing to the other side. You see it's cut at a slant. And then add a little bit of that glue. And I'm going to hold that tape in place when I push, and push right through it. Now, if you don't have a piece that you want to put onto yours that has the holes in the bottom, you could always just wrap a pipe cleaner that is the same color around it to hold it in place, or you could just sit it in the top if you're not going to be moving your arrangement. I've got some leftover foliage from another project. I like the dark green color, and I'm going to use it to cover up the green on the blocks, on these foam blocks. You could always paint the blocks if you wanted to, but these are actually not the right type of blocks for artificial foliage. They're actually more like a wet block that you would use in a live arrangement, and so they peel and flake very easily. And I found the best way to do that is just not to paint them and use pins to attach things down or wrap them. That works best for me. But you know, you do whatever technique that you have used and that has worked for you in the past. And you see he fits nicely down in there. And also add a little hot glue underneath his legs and his body to attach him down. Now this is not resin, this is actually a little ceramic piece, and I did find him at the thrift store. So mainly what you're seeing is going to be thrift store finds for this project. I'm going to take the holly picks and place these around. Now I pulled them all off of that ring, and I just pulled them off into little sections, and thankfully they had nice firm plastic so that they pick straight into the foam without any difficulty. This is another one of those things where if you're not going to be moving this around a lot, this will be perfect because you don't have to worry about anything falling out. You can take your floral picks and put these in here, or you can attach a little of leftover picks from another arrangement, the metal stem part, and use those as picks to put into your foam if you would like to do that. But for me, this process worked, and yeah, it was just really simple to do for this one. Everything's pretty much pre-cut. All I had to do was just pluck it off the ring and just use it in here. So keep in mind when you are out thrifting, or you've found a clearance sale someplace, or you're at Dollar Tree, that you can repurpose things. You don't have to use them exactly how it is advertised for them to be used. Use your imagination and think of other ways that you can use them, and go ahead and give it a shot. If it doesn't work for you, pull it out and start over. No problem. Besides, I'm not gluing these in, so, I can pull these out and use these on another project, which is probably what I will do. It's a very cute arrangement, though, and I think it makes a cute little centerpiece, as you can see right through it. So, no obstacles when you're sitting across the table from someone eating. And I will give you a look in just a minute and show you how this is looking so far. And of course, I always like to go a little bit full and overboard with my projects, as it remains budget friendly for me, because so much of what I find is thrifted, and I can easily put the pieces in and take them out and reuse them. And not only that, but I pay such a small amount for them that having multiple uses is really, really a benefit. It really stretches the dollar. This is a thrifted piece of fern pick that I found, and I am just going to cut down the pieces. Now, the actual fern piece are very feathery and light. They are plastic, but they're very thin. But I want to make sure that when I'm cutting these, I leave some of that main branchy piece in there, because that will allow me to actually pick it in if I need to. I don't want to leave any extra little fluff and stuff that I don't have to. So some of these will be the bigger pieces, and I'll leave them on that stem, like I said, because we're going to use that to our benefit, and put it into the foam here and there, mainly on the outsides of it, or toward the outside where the basket edge is, just like this, because it's a flyaway and it's very pretty. And then again on the other side. This is not exactly a symmetrical arrangement, but it's pretty close to it. I'm kind of rather mirroring what's going on each side. Now for these pieces, I'm going to just do the same thing that I was mentioning to you. Grab a pick from something else that you've already used, cut a piece of that off, and use that to pick it down into your floral foam. Because they're so feathery, they're not going to stick in that foam by themselves, so we can build them up just a little. I save these when I pluck flowers off. I like to save the pieces to use again. I just have a big jar, and I have a bunch of these in here. So this, so far, is how it looks. I'm going to add something to the top. You could stop at any point that you would like. These are some picks that I have had for a while, and really, because of the style of them, couldn't quite figure out how I wanted to place them. They look like holly berries, but the leaf itself almost looks like a grapevine leaf, and it wasn't fitting into my idea of, I don't know, the other things that I've already made and decorated. So I decided to go ahead and use it at this point in a little bit different of a way than I would normally use it. And you see, if you have those wiry pieces, you can just make those little tendrils or those little curly pieces, just wind them onto a pencil or a screwdriver, whatever you have, if you need to fix those, if they straighten out for some reason. I'll just use a zip tie to attach these, almost like a swag, across each other and slightly to the side. You can put yours in the middle or off to the other side over there, or you can just leave it off completely if you just want more of a rustic look. But for this being winter and also a Christmas idea, I wanted it to be just a bit more festive, and I think that adding these berries to the top will do that. And they look close enough, you know, I mean, you can imagine like a holly berry would be, you know, the red color, and they're shiny. So I thought, well, you know, this will work. So this is from Dollar Tree. These are just these little wooden pieces, little cutouts. I'm going to use a damp baby wipe and a little bit of that to make a light stain. If you're wondering, using a damp baby wipe will make it a lighter stain than it would if you painted it on with a brush. And that's the idea that I wanted here. Then you can just build your coverage up between layers and make it as dark as you want. I'm also going to take a little wood round. Now I believe you can get these at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to color this one and let it dry completely. And once both of these pieces are dry, I'll use a little bit of glue. And normally I would tell you, do not use hot glue on top of a piece that you've waxed because it won't stay on, but this is very, very lightweight, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. In fact, this project I actually did a few months ago, and it's still hanging there, still doing what it's supposed to do, so it worked all right in this instance. All right, then I'll just place that right in the middle, and you can always do the back too if it's going to be facing both directions. So far, this is how it looks, and I decided, you know what, to make it a little more rustic and a little more woodland, let's add another element in here. So I've got these, which came out of something I got from Target years ago. It was like a sleigh sled, and it had a bunch of different pine cones and ribbon in it. And I saved these little woody branches because they look really good and natural to me in these projects. So I'm just going to add those here and there to complete this project. The form itself. The vintage Santa sign will be next. I've got my Waverly wax, chippy brush, some little wood pieces from Dollar Tree, some white chalk paint, this is Adirondack white, and a brush, some more of that outdoor Mod Podge, a bottle brush Christmas tree in gold, this lovely little postcard that came from Temu in the same pack as the other one that we used on the wreath, Father Christmas. And then I have some little snowflake ornaments. They are in a gold color. This looks like a little cutting board of some sort, but you can use the same type of round that we used before. I've got some fake snow, and it is a mixture of fake snow and salt. Make sure that whatever you're using is sanded, of course, like I said. Sand it, wipe it down. You're going to paint it white. I'm going to grab some of my antiquing wax, or you can use a brown paint, and I'm going to age these posts. These are going to be almost like fence posts, but they're also going to help us support the postcard, which we're using as a sign. I'm going to quickly wipe off and dry these posts now. They're a little darker. I like the richer color. I'm going to take my finger dauber and that antiquing wax and go all around the edges, as we did with the one that we cut out before. I'm going to go around the edges, and I'm also going to kind of dirty up the edges as well. If you don't have one of these little finger dauber things, you can use like a baby wipe. Just wrap it around the end of your finger. You can see how I'm kind of curving this out to almost give it some shadowing on the edges. You can certainly leave this out if you don't want to do it this way, but I love to give my stuff something that makes it a little bit different, and, you know, to make it special. You know, to make it your own, right? Now this is just a dry paper towel, and I'm just wiping off the excess. And then I decided I'm going to do the back also, so I'm going to grab that same brush and the wax and just kind of dirty it up on the back until it is the full coverage that I want. So it looks like this on the front and this on the back. Looks nice and old. I'm going to take that Mod Podge and a big brush here. It's going to hold a lot. Look how thick that is. I am going to brush and sort of stipple this all over. I want the my brushes. Some of my brushes are so old they're falling apart. I want to make a thick layer on here for our snow. So you can see that I'm kind of popping the brush up and down. It's making little peaks all over here to grab more areas of the snow. So there'll be, rather than one solid flat surface, there will be some peak areas like snow drifts. You can see how that's going to look. Then I'll sit this in a box, because once we put that snow in there, it's going to fall everywhere. It's going to serve more than one purpose. It's going to keep my table clean, and it is also going to allow me to put the excess right back in the bag. I'm just lightly pressing that in, and then I'll turn it over and take the little excess off. Now, if these are going to be posts behind, then we need to be able to use, we need to have a little snow resting on there as well, right? So we're going to put some of that same Mod Podge and a little bit of that snow right on the tip, as if snow is falling on the top. Yes. Let those dry. I'm going to take a little tongue depressor, and really this probably isn't necessary, but I wanted to be sure it was dry so I could continue with the project for y'all. So I just scraped back a little bit of it and added some hot glue in the dry spots to put the tree down. I don't want to showcase the fact that there is a opening in there. You know, I'm trying to cover that fact that we're using this not as it was intended, but we're using this in a different way. Now I'm just gluing it from underneath. You almost won't even see that little spot there. You could also glue and snow in the bottom of your Christmas tree if you want. I'll add a little bit of hot glue. Same thing here. You don't typically want to put it on wax because it'll pop off. But when you're doing a project that's this small, it doesn't have a lot of weight, you don't have to be concerned about anything necessarily popping off. But that's totally your choice and up to you. I'm putting these not straight to the edge, but a little bit behind. And then I'm just going to pick off the little hot glue that's excess there. You can see that it'll stand up on its own, but I added a little hot glue underneath, nestled it down there, and let it dry. And then I added a snowflake in the top corner of the postcard. I'm going to go behind it with some hot glue and glue this down. This is dried overnight, by the way, so now all of the glue and the snow is dried on there. Then I'm going to take another snowflake and put it at the bottom. It's going to kind of stand in front of the tree and lean up against the post behind it. This is almost like a billboard, I guess you could say. Maybe I should have named it that instead. But this is what we have so far. I love that it has a slight curve. This is the perfect place to add any candle that you have of your choice that is flameless. I think that looks so pretty together. And then if you want to attach something to the tree, just use a little bit of floral wire, and silver is the only one that I had other than green. So we can fix that though. I'm going to take this and make it almost like a bobby pin. So we're going to push it through the center into the back. And now we can put it on the tree and then twist the ends together to hold it in place. And clip the excess off. Press those ends down into the tree so that you don't see them. Once you get it positioned where you like it, you can take a little bit of gold paint that is the color of your ornaments that you're using, and then just go over that piece of floral wire with that paint. You can do 2 coats, but I just did 1. And I'll turn it around and do the back as well so that you don't see that standing out in the tree, and everything blends in together nicely. Here are our 3 arrangements that we made today. We've got sort of our vintage look here. And this is like a vintage rustic, if you want to call it that. A little different spin, I think, but with the holly, I think it definitely looks vintage. I love to chat with you and comment with you down in the comments. So if you have something you'd like to say today, I would love to hear it. I appreciate y'all getting through this video with my crackly, scratchy voice, and for being part of this journey. It has meant so very much to me. We're going to start off with a retro Christmas banner. We're going to use 3 of these little banner pieces from Dollar Tree. Could be rectangle or square. I have some rickrack that I'm going to use. These are some postcard looking thingies that I got from Temu in a big pack. Oh, they're actually a paper banner, I think. I've got some sparkly ribbons in white and red. We are going to start by taking these apart. We're going to take the burlap or the jute off of here. It's very easy to do. You just push that plastic piece down, take it right off. Then we're going to take off our tags, because today we are going to be working on the back of the sign. But we're going to make it easy enough that you can easily peel this stuff off and use it for another project if you would like. How about that? Okay, so we're going to sand these down. These pieces are notoriously rough and will splinter up your little pinkies, so just be sure that you get it nice and smooth on both sides, so when you're handling this, you get no bobos. All right, I'm going to wipe off the dust, any that is left on there, and clean it off. And then I'm going to take my awl and go in each one of these little holes where the string will go. So you could use baker's twine, you could use some more jute, you could use rickrack like I'm doing, or some type of a thin ribbon, or cording, whatever you like. This is going to make it easier because it will take out any rough areas that might snag when you're trying to push them through those little holes. You see the difference that it makes when you do that? Makes it nice and smooth. Look at the difference. All right, now we're going to be embellishing this with some ribbon instead of painting it. I'm going to take the white. You can still see through it. You see, I can see where those holes are punched in there, and that's exactly what I want, so that's perfect. I'm just going to make sure that I have enough to go across all of these and fold over so that on the black side we can glue or tape this down. All right, easy to do. This is exactly the same size, so it worked out perfectly. I'm going to hold it, flip it over, add a little hot glue, and then press it down. I want to make sure that it's lined up nicely so we don't have to put any extra glue underneath the front. I'm going to pull it taut, wrap it around, and then tack it in place. Be sure you protect your little fingers. I don't want anybody getting hurt. Okay, so now there's all 3 of them. And we're going to start with the next layer of ribbon. Right underneath the lip of the top part, I'm going to add a strip of red. You don't have to do this step. And what if you don't have those Temu banner pieces that I have? Well, Dollar Tree happens to have 50-cent cards, and then they have some cards I think that are maybe $1 or $1.25. You can just find some cards that you really like. Mine just happened to be in a vintage theme, but they've got some really pretty ones at Dollar Tree that you can give a try if you would like. See, this goes along very easily. I would even call this, you know, a beginner type of project. All right, so now I'm just going to lay these down, and although they are very close to exactly the right size, there's still a little bit of a gap when I space them the way I like them. I could always pull it straight to the bottom, that would be fine, but I like the way that the glittery red kind of frames it when we put a strip across the bottom. So I'm going to just do the same thing here and just cut these down into 3 pieces, and then we'll go across the bottom in the exact same way that we did with the top. Very easy to do. I love these little retro banner pieces. They're so pretty, and I have worked with a lot of, this is not sponsored by Temu, y'all. This isn't sponsored. If you don't like Temu or you have opinions, we don't need to discuss that here. I have worked with them, and you know, I don't have a problem with any of their products. We get a little different type of look instead of the same old stuff that everybody's doing at Dollar Tree all the time. And so it works for me, works for my business model, okay? And I want to keep things inexpensive for you guys because that's what this channel is about. All right, so now we've got like a little framework. I could just put that right on there, and I love the way that looks. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue. Now, when you do this, you don't need to go nuts with hot glue, and you could actually use a different type of adhesive if you want to do that. But as I've said before when I'm doing the videos, I need to use something that's going to work quickly so that you can see these projects. Since it's 2 videos a week that I do, I need to be sure I get this material out for y'all because I know that you depend on me, and I want to be dependable. Look at that. I like that. Now, if you don't have the different color ribbons or you don't like to do it this way, think of all the different things that you could do on yours. Maybe you could paint it. If you're not planning on reusing this, you could just paint the whole thing, right? You could definitely do that. You could use, for the pictures, if you can't find cards you like, get a bag or a package of Christmas boxes. They're beautifully decorated. You can get them in a variety of sizes, and they would work great for projects like this as well. These are so sweet. I love that nostalgic look. All right, so these are just some little mini bows. You could probably get these anywhere. Actually, I think these might have come from the clearance at Hobby Lobby last year. I think the clearance section. I am just going to take the wire that is around the middle and just kind of wrap it back on itself toward the back to give me a little something else to hold that glue. And then right over the original little spots where the banner would have taken the ribbon or the thread or whatever you use there, it's a little hole punch there. I'm just going to cover that up with these cute little bows. I think it's a nice little embellishment, but you certainly don't have to do it if you don't like it. You could add another strip of ribbon right across the top. You could cover it up, or you could just leave it like that, right? So many options when you are making it your own. So many. I'm just going to continue and do that for the top of each one. We don't have to do anything to the bottom, and I like the bows on the top anyway. I think if we did it on the bottom, it might just overdo it. Okay, so there's my awl, and we are going to start really getting these things put together, making one piece. I'm going to hold my ribbon in place and use that awl to punch right through the ribbon. This is, I don't know what type of fabric or material this ribbon is, but it's kind of papery. So, you know, just keep that in mind. If a different type of ribbon might not give you the same result, but it's working for me here. All right, so now we have our holes punched back in the top. I have a little piece of a greenery wire or stem that I have cut at a slant. It makes a very good little pokey tool. Yes, it's a pokey tool. And you just keep something like this by your table and it makes it easier. You could also use, if you were using baker's twine or some type of a thin thread, you might could get one of those plastic needles to thread through there so you could put your project together a little more easily. I do realize that for those of us who have carpal tunnel, who have vision problems, who have arthritis, who have neuropathy, sometimes working with pieces this small can be difficult. So, you know, nothing wrong with asking for a little help once you get to this point. If there's somebody around who's handy and has some young eyes and hands, let them help you out here. Now look at how cute the rickrack turned out on here. Once I get it through, of course. Look how cute. It looks like an extra piece of embellishment or trim at the top, and I can't get enough of it. Continue along, put the next one on, and as I'm doing this, I'm trying to ensure that I'm keeping the rickrack from getting twisted all up. See, I'll just go behind when I put it through and make sure that it lays flat. I don't want a twisty mess. I want it to actually look nice and neat. And I won't have to glue this in place because it will stay straight across the top where we leave it. It just makes, that little pokey tool just makes everything so much better. So much better. Y'all, it is already the 27th of November. Where has time gone? Again, another year that is almost over, and I'm left thinking, what did I do this year? What did I do? What did I accomplish? How about you? Do you sometimes think that? Where in the heck did the year go? Ugh. It's a lot. But hey, you know what? It was a great year because I had you here with me. And that means the world to me. Okay, so now if you want to embellish, you can. You could add little ornaments on here. You could add beads, depending on what style you have or what you like. Totally up to you. But for me, I think I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to grab my glossy Mod Podge, although it really doesn't matter what formula you use for this. And I'm going to go over the little areas where the snow is on my bell picture. You can definitely grab up some glitter and use glitter on this if you really want some sparkle. Last year I had glitter everywhere. There's probably glitter down in my studio that has been there for years. I'm almost certain it is. Yeah. You just can't get rid of it, right? You have to be selective. Christmas time is the time to be selective with the glitter. But I decided, let's do something different. Maybe you don't have any glitter. Maybe you could use some table salt or some fake snow. If you don't have fake snow, maybe you could use something else. What do you think that you could use on here that would be something like snow or ice? Maybe, I wouldn't say sugar. I think the ants would enjoy the sugar though, but no, I wouldn't say sugar. There's just, you got so many options here. You could also go over these sections with some puff paint. Really give it some definition if you wanted. So for Santa, I'm going to go over his little hair, his hat, his beard, and then a little bit on the top of each one of the little deer's heads. Because they're standing outside and it's nice and snowy. And I also put a little bit on the snowflakes that are on there as well, but just a little. These are just extra little things that you can do to bring your projects up a notch, to make them a little more unique, but they're not required. You know, it all depends on where you're at in your crafting journey and how confident you are with your crafting. But I have to say, don't be shy with crafting. If you do it and it makes you smile and it brings you some joy, and that's exactly what you needed, right? We all need more joy in our life. Nothing wrong with having a little childlike fun. So I'm just mashing it down just a little bit with my fingers, just kind of patting it to make sure that everything is sticking down in the Mod Podge. And on this one, we've got the little Frosty, and I'm just going around on the little snowman, right on the top of his hat, on the top of his gloves, some on the bell, and then some on the little, you can see what I'm doing, the little roof of the house and on the sides. I don't want to overwhelm him and completely cover him in the frost, in other words. We'll just say that he's packed down snow, so it's fine. All right? So I'll give it just a minute, you know, kind of let it stick a little bit better, dry just a tad. And then I'm going to tap these off, and I'll put that snow back in the bag because I'm cheap like that. No, I'm not cheap. I'm thrifty. That's what it is. I like that better. Okay, so once that is done, put it back in the bag like I mentioned. Get you a Ziploc bag, save it. You can always use it again. I'm going to take a clean, dry brush and just sort of, you know, tighten this up a bit. Flick this off of the ribbon and the places where the snow doesn't necessarily need to be. Just cleaning it up. I just like the way this looks because if you have it all over the card, you can't necessarily see the detail. Of course, that could just be a vision problem for me. Hopefully that's not an issue for you. All right, now you can easily see here how we're going to tie off the ends. And by the way, if y'all want more than a 3-piece here, you can do more. As many as your heart desires, you can do 12 if you want to. Totally up to you. This is just a little way to show you how to do it to get you inspired to make one for yourself. Wouldn't the kiddos love this? You could put this across your kitchen window, and when you're cooking Christmas dinner or cookies and the grandkids or kiddos come over, they could see this and really enjoy it. The next is a retro Santa sign. Alright, so here we go again with some ribbon. You can use red, you can use white, you can use fabric kind. I'm going to use some more of that red rickrack, of course. I'm going to use some of this beautiful fabric from Dollar Tree. Very pretty. And this little sign that I got from Temu. The little canvas that I got from Temu. Very pretty. It's an 8x10. Nice little piece. And then I have a larger canvas that I got at the thrift store. So there was no information on the package. I'm just going to measure it for you. You can see what our measurements are. You can get some canvases at Dollar Tree too. And what if you don't have a canvas? Let's go back to that. So if you don't want to buy a canvas, what can you use? Get another box top. Right now in Dollar Tree, you can probably find 3 at least that would be suitable for a project like this. And all you have to do is just trim it out and then you can use it. So I'm going to take the fabric, and you could do something like a Mod Podge on here if you wanted to, but to make it quicker and also into something that I could take apart. I'm going to protect my pinkies here. You can use the fabric over the board with a little hot glue. So just don't go crazy with the hot glue, and you should be able to peel these off, especially when they get cool temperatured. So if you needed to use these pieces again, you could. I'm just going to press that down in there. Everything is going to get pulled taut, but not too tight, because I don't want to distort the fabric and have it looking into a weird wave pattern or something. I'm just going to do the long sides first, and then I will switch it around and work on closing up the ends. Now I like to do mine with fabric as I would when I'm wrapping a present. It's just, I don't know, it's just easy to do. It's a pretty neat way to close the back up, so that's what I'm going to show you how to do. And then if you have another idea of how you want to do it, you are welcome to do that. But I like this because my corners won't come undone. They'll stay nice and crisp. Just folding it into a triangle, adding some glue there, and then I'll flip that fabric up onto the glue. That's easy enough, right? Then this part can either be trimmed down, or if you want to make it even nice and neater, you could fold it under and then grab your hot glue and press it down. And you'll do this process on both sides until it is done, of course. Yeah, look at that. Nice. That's a nice clean base to work with, and look how beautiful that looks against there. To me, that is not too busy of a look. It's very simple. Now you could get busy with it, really easy. You really could. We're not going to do it that way. Now I'm going to just trim this out with some of that red glittery ribbon, and I'll do each side, and then I will also measure and cut the top and bottom. I choose to leave these a little bit long because I'm not the kind of person who's going to get a ruler or tape measure out on a regular basis. I just work really too quickly for that, and it slows me down. I'm also going to grab some buttons. Now, first go around, I used the glue stick here. This is a regular, like a purple glue stick, to put the ribbon onto the canvas. It does work. However, it will slide around until it is completely dry. So if you choose to use a cool temp glue gun here rather than this, that's probably going to be a better option for you, unless you have the time to work on your projects and let them dry and then come back to them. But I'll show you how to reinforce it with some hot glue also. So once it's framed up, I'm going to go flip it over on the back and then cut off the red, because I can clearly see it against the white from the canvas. And I'll just cut that, just kind of trim it carefully. I don't want to damage the beautiful print, which I should have gotten a bigger size because it is gorgeous. And I'm just going to trim it, and there it looks like that. Then I'm going to take a little bit of hot glue and just smear it under there. Just going to smear it. I'm not going to make, big bulky mess with that hot glue. Then I'll grab my tape measure or my ruler and make sure that I have everything spaced out correctly. I hold it in place with one hand, and then I'll go under it with a little hot glue to tag down the corners. I'm checking again, and I'll slide what I need to slide before it is set. And then I'm going to add some on this corner. And doing this in each corner is going to keep it in place while I put the extra glue underneath the long sides of the canvas. Oh, this is so cute. What a beautiful little print. Really is cute. And I know my retro fans are going to love the beautiful print. So I went into my embellishments and thought, you know what, these beautiful little matte colored buttons would be perfect for this. Very simple, still has that sweet childlike quality, and I think it just does a little something. What do you think? What do you think about using the buttons here? I think they're cute. They don't cover up or take away from what else we have going on in here. They're just really, I think they're sweet. So that's very easy to do. And you could always use little bows in the corners if you want. You don't have to do anything. Now I'm going to get that same dry brush, and I'm going to that ribbon has a little bit of fallout from Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to sweep that away, just clean that up. You can seal this with Mod Podge spray or sealer if you wanted to, but it's not necessary for my home, so I'll leave it as it is. I flipped it over and we're going to make a very simple hanger for the back. A little hot glue, just a little piece of rickrack. It was right there, I had it. You can use something else if you want. And then I just put a little piece of scrap paper that I cut. You can see over there in the corner I cut that. And I'm just using that to help hold the little hanger pieces together while it dries. And then this is what this beautiful little piece is going to look like. My backdrop is getting messy, y'all. I've got so much stuff up there. Look, there's our little sign with the buttons on it. That would be cute in a nursery, wouldn't it, for a baby? So cute. If you'd enjoyed these projects that we did today on a budget, I would. The first project will be a Millwork Hanger. I'm going to use some chalkboard paint in black, some nickel satin finish nickel Rust-Oleum spray paint, a chippy brush, a silver ribbon, and one of them is blue, and I'm going to switch it to a velvet ribbon. And then this one is beautiful leaves. It's like leaves on a vine. Then this sparkly ribbon that is silver. 3 different sizes. Here's the millwork that I got at the thrift store. Beautiful piece, got a little damage, but that's not going to be a problem for this project. You know, these go underneath the light fixtures. So I'm going to take this outside and spray it after, of course, I have wiped it and got it nice and clean. Once it is covered with 2 coats of that nickel paint, look how beautiful this is. So pretty. I'm going to bring it inside and I'm going to start distressing this. The idea is to take this from looking like a resin or plastic piece, or possibly plaster if that's what they were going for, and to make this more of a metal looking piece. So I am going to do that by using my black. Now I've dipped it into the black and tapped most of it off, so this is an actual dry brushing technique. I'm not just like smearing it all over. This is actually how you dry brush. So I'm going to go back and forth and up and down over all the beautiful detailed pieces so that it will get that darker color down in all of those high spots and give us some shadowing and just really make this look more of a metal piece. I work with a little bit at a time, and then I build up as I go if I choose to do it that way. If you've been here a while, you already know I start off with a light hand and then I just layer that up until I get the look that I like. It's a lot harder to take it off once you put too much on. So I'm going to speed it up, but I don't want to take it out because I want you to see how much time it actually takes to do this if you do it correctly. It is sped up, like I said, but I'm just taking manageable small sections here and just working my way around. Now you can see the difference already. The lower right section is not distressed and the rest of it is, and you see the difference? Really takes that shine down a bit and makes this more of a metal looking piece or an iron looking piece, and I love the look of this. I am so glad. I have had this in my stash for a while and I'm trying to work through my thrifted pieces, and what better time than Christmas to do this. Alright, so once I get the outside pretty much like I like it, I want to make this look even more kind of recessed. So I'm going in that inner curve there in that flat piece and then dragging that paint back upward over the edges, and it just makes it look like it is actually thicker than it is. Ugh, gorgeousness. I absolutely love this, and when I go back to the thrift store, it's been a few months, but when I go back, I'm definitely going to be picking up every one of these I see, because I could just see this for every season hanging on a door. Just beautiful. Or maybe even above a fireplace would be pretty. I don't know, where would you put yours? This is a stunner, y'all. I love this. I love paint. I love it so much. Alright, so I switched from the other ribbon that I had to this one because I thought the velvet would just be prettier, and I like the look of it for Victorian pieces. So I am going to layer up my ribbons rather than using 3 individual separate pieces. And I have done this before. We're going to make one beautifully embellished ribbon out of 3 different pieces. And this is how we will do it. The widest ribbon will be on the bottom. then our next ribbon, and then we will put down the last thinnest trim or ribbon piece, whatever you want to call that, with the leaves on it. It's beautiful. I did not measure this, I just kind of eyeballed it. It's probably 12, 14 inches. So now the pretty side of the ribbon is upward, and I'm just going to take a little stream of glue and go right down the middle of the thickest ribbon, so the bottom ribbon, and I will try to center this one on top, press it down, and then work in small sections, because if you get it crooked, you'll probably tear your ribbon when you try to pull them apart. So just take your time with this, and if you need to use a rubber spatula or something, use that. Or you definitely could be working with your cool temperature rather than the hot glue. And then I'll widen it up a little bit on the end so that the end stays nice and flat. And already look at the difference. That looks like a beautiful, beautiful, expensive ribbon. I want to make this look a little more aged. This silver is a bit too bright for me, so why not distress the ribbon, right? This is like a raised textured ribbon. It's not sparkly. Well, it is sparkly, but it doesn't have glitter on it, is what I'm saying. It's a strange woven texture. But I'm going to go over it just with the black, and I'm just going to use a smaller brush this time because I'm working in a smaller section and I don't want to get it on my blue. So I'm just tapping it in, kind of smearing it around on top of that ribbon. And you can see the difference from the top to the bottom as I work along here. Again, in small sections so that I can duplicate anything that I'm doing. So this looks like it was intended to be this way. I'll use lighter, and then I'll go a little bit darker as I go, building up just like we did on the millwork piece. Now I'm going to glue this one down, and since it's so thin on the vine, I'm just going to take some little sections of where the leaves are and just put a tiny dot of glue underneath, and I just adjust it as I go. The tip of this little glue gun is so narrow and so thin, it works great for these types of projects. And this Sure Bonder that I have gotten, this last one I've gotten, has been really good. I'm happy with this one. Okay, same process as before. Tapping in, tapping off, and I'm going to go over that silver a little bit as well. I don't mind if it's a little bit shinier than the one that is underneath it because it's on the top and I don't want it to blend completely in. I want to be able to see it. So now it's got that aged look that I really like. Not a perfect match, but that's not what I'm going for here. So now you can see there's about 12 inches in the front, 12 inches in the back. So I guess that's a 24-inch piece of ribbon. Okay, so this is just a curtain ring. I am going to unscrew the hook part of it, and we're going to use it for the top. I'll take some of this brushed silver, and then I'm just going to kind of give this a light brushing over this ring. I don't have a smaller brush, chippy brush, so I'm just using a regular brush here to do this. Get it all on there. I'm gonna get it on the front and the back and on the inside of the ring as well. And I just do one coat and then I will let that dry. Very easy to do. You can still see the black under, so it gives it that nice aged look that's on the millwork. Once it is dry, we are ready to use it. So I'm just going to fold the back piece over the top piece. Doesn't matter, you can do the top over the back, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to add a line of glue and then just overlap about an inch, maybe anywhere from a half an inch to an inch on there. Press it down so it is glued down flat. And then once it's cooled, I'll turn it to the back so that you don't see where we connected it. And it's sitting behind the millwork and over that crack that was in there. Then I just decided, you know what, I've got this one little tiny piece of ribbon left. This came off of that roll from Dollar Tree, this blue velvet did. And I thought, okay, I'll just use this and we'll put one little bow right down here. Certainly skip this part if you don't like bows, but I think it gave it a little something extra, especially for the holidays. So, you know, Victorians did that anyway. They used every bit of what they had to make their homes beautiful. They used what they had. And they had a lot in those days, didn't they? They really did. This velvet is such a rich and beautiful look. I just love it with Victorian decor and vintage decor in general. It's just very pretty, very luxe looking. It's just such a simple little bow. We're not even going to have tails on it. And just flip those out because they are wired. They'll stay. Then I can trim off what we don't need and then add a little hot glue to put this right here. And look at how beautiful this is. You can hang this off of a wreath hanger on your door. You can put it above your fireplace. You can hang it off of a doorknob if you wanted to. I mean, you know, if you just really want it. Come and see my videos on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's free to subscribe. The next is going to be our sleigh arrangement. We're going to use another one of those little postcards, a different one. I have a scrap of paper. I'm going to use foam blocks. This beautiful sleigh that I found at the thrift store. Look at this beauty. I'm not even going to do anything with it other than clean it up a little bit on the inside. Double stick tape, a berry pick. We're going to cut it up. We're going to cut this one up, this one, and then the one on the bottom. These are 3 different types of evergreen that we're using. I'm going to start by deciding where I want my foam pieces to go. I know that it's going to take about 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 there. So I'm just going to cut those pieces to fit down on the inside. Alright, double stick tape. We're going to put on the back of here. I don't know what size this is going to be yet, so I'm just going to eyeball it and see how much of a frame I want with this piece of scrapbook paper. This is just cardstock in the back. I'm going to push it down, then I'll use my little tool here and I will go over it to make sure it's burnished down and it doesn't come apart. Perfect. Then I'm just going to take my little tool. I've had this thing for a while now. It's just a little pendulum cutter. It's good for little things, but it won't do big paper. You know, it's not big enough. I'm just going to trim it down. Now I've got my perfect size. I didn't have to use my scissors or ruler, and it's perfect. We're going to make a pick or sign to go in the beautiful arrangement display. So I'm going to use just a thin craft stick. I'm going to stick it down in some hot glue. I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth over here. And then I am going to add another little scrap of that same paper to give it a very nice clean finish on the back. So when you see it from the other side, it's nice and neat. How about that? Now we're going to start putting down all of that beautiful evergreen greenery. You can see what I'm doing here. This is how I'm going to arrange it. Now, arrange it, rather. If you don't have one of these, I think, unless your Dollar Tree is out, if you picked up any of those little plastic sleds from Dollar Tree, you could certainly paint your sled a white color, maybe do some painting on it, or make some designs with a glue gun and then brush over it with a little bit of gold, and you could make your own sled. But certainly if you have a sled in your decor that you haven't used in years, get that thing out, make something beautiful with it. I'm going to cut down all these pieces. I love that the greenery is giving those old vibes. It's giving that beautiful woodland look that I love so much. And I think it matches a lot of what's going on in the card over there. And plus, you know, I just love greenery in general. I have went through so much greenery this year. So much. And after I use it, if I don't keep the arrangements or give them away, I pull them out and I donate them back because I get most of my greenery at the thrift store. So I mean, I'll turn around and give it back, and then somebody else will be excited about finding it. You know, nothing wrong with that. I've done all I could for it. It's time to go back. All right, so I'm just adding these here and there. I'm trying to mimic what I do on the left with what I do on the right. What I am doing in the front, I will keep a little bit shorter than what is going on in the back. This is going to be a squatty low arrangement. Nothing high in this, nothing like that. Squatty and low. I'll be showing you from here to you know, time to time here, like I have been, I'll pick it up and let you see the shape of this arrangement. Very wild, very woodland, and I absolutely love it. You could use hollies. If you wanted to use some flowers, you could use some chrysanthemums in here. You could use poinsettias in here. You know, really whatever you like. So once I get it done on the top, you know, I start looking around the sides, and I'm going to be adding in some of the red berries on the sides as well. And what I have left is the middle top of that berry pick. And then I will use that to put down in that middle spot. You see the little empty spot there? I'm going to grab this. I'm going to give it a little bit of a fluff and place it right in that spot. How gorgeous. Look at the berries falling all over the table. You know I saved those berries, right? I sure did. I got a little bowl on the side and I stuck them all in there. So you see the style of this arrangement? Love it. It's beautiful. You put it in the middle of your table, everybody can see around it. So you could use this as decor anywhere in your house, but you could certainly use this as a centerpiece if you would like. Now here's that beautiful card. Oh yes. Santa, you're bringing me woodland vibes. You definitely are. All the woodland vibes. And Victorian. The next is going to be our tart pan ornaments, of course. All right, y'all. I've got some, I'm going to drop it, obviously. An apple red satin Rust-Oleum spray paint. I'm going to use my awl and a hammer. I have some more of that wire. Some pearl beads or pearl rounds, little circles. And then I'm going to use some tart pans. A lot of you had told me in one of my tart pan ornaments that you had so many of these and didn't know what to do. I'm about to bring you some more inspiration. So we have 3 of each of these sizes and the red paint. We're going to take them outside and coat them down. Once they are dry, I'm going to get them lined up here. We will add some hot glue in the middle of the largest one. Set the medium size one in there. When we'll do each one of those right in there. Do y'all know what we're making? We're making poinsettias. Look at this. I found this by accident the other day. I get inspired by the weirdest things. I was stacking them up and something fell and it landed kind of one inside the other, and I thought, that looks like a flower. Can you see my fingerprint over there in the left? That's one that I got too much spray paint in and wouldn't dry all the way, so now it's on the tip of my finger. But paint all over my hands. Now, because the center of a beautiful Christmas poinsettia has the little, looks like little seated section, we're going to use pearls for that because this is Victorian, right? Yes. So I'm going to drop them in that well of hot glue because I put a good bit of hot glue in there because I want these to nest down in there flat side by side. Look how pretty. And then I'll do the same thing with this one until it is nice and full. You can position them with your fingers, but I'm telling you, unless you're using cool temp glue, do not put your finger in that hot glue. Don't do it. It will hurt. Oh, I'm ordering myself one of those. It's a bowl, like a little pot that you put the glue pellets in for flower arrangements. So when I get it, I'll show y'all what that's like. Now, I don't have any leaves to work for a poinsettia, so I thought, you know what? I've got these thrifted pieces of holly leaves that got no berries with them. And I thought, why don't we just use our imagination and we're just going to put them together. They're both greenery for Christmas, so we're just going to put them together and we're going to make little green leaves to go on our beautiful flower ornaments. So I'm just going to stack one on top of the other. These are fragile. They're like a hard plastic and they break pretty easily, so I'm really trying to be careful how I handle them. I'm going to cut these in about probably 5 or 6 inch pieces, one for each of these flowers, because we are going to make hangers for these ornaments, of course. And you know how easy it is to make a hanger. We're going to make a little hook on the top of each one of these, leave it long on the bottom because we're going to be putting that in the ornament. Pretty. Very easy. You can always, if you don't have the wire, just use the ornament hooks that you buy at the store. You can get a big pack of those for very little, and you can probably get them at Dollar Tree. So I'll take my awl on the inside of one of those little scalloped areas, and then I have a board underneath so I don't make a hole in my table. And then I'll just go around it with my awl so I don't hurt my hand. Go through the hole, loop it back up, and then wrap it around itself. Careful not to poke your little fingers. You don't want to get a wire that is too stiff or you can hurt yourself, but you want something that's going to hold the weight of the ornament so when you hang it on the tree, it doesn't pull the hook out of the top. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. So I wouldn't recommend that really thick wire that you get at Dollar Tree. The colored wires, I don't think that would work. They're too soft. Now going by the other ornament, I'm trying to place this in about the same area, and putting it closer toward the front rather, is going to make it hang correctly so that it doesn't hang at a weird angle. You always need to be sure about that because the weight of things can change the center of it, right? So here's the last one, and we're getting it all wrapped up. And then once we know what's top and bottom, we can start adding our little leaves onto the ornaments. I ran out of glue in the other glue gun. How about that? I had to switch it over. Had two of them going at one time, and that's what I do with most of my projects. You'll see me go from the small one to the larger one, back and forth. So there's the first one. And then I'm going to put the greenery in different spots on each one of these ornaments. Just, you know, kind of mix it up a little bit. I'm going to hold it for a moment to let everything sit up and dry. And then on this one, we'll put it at the bottom. Look how pretty these are, y'all. Just for a little something extra, I thought let's add some sparkle in the middle. So rather than dumping glitter on here, I just want to add a little bit of a gold touch by putting some of this gold glitter Mod Podge on here. I'm brushing over all the pearls. I'm not getting it on the red at all. And then after I get each one of those little pearls done, we'll put just a tiny bit onto the leaves. I'm also focusing on any of those beads that flipped up where the hole is outward. I'm kind of plugging it with a little bit of this Mod Podge so you don't necessarily notice the bead. Then I'll take it right along the tips of the little spikes on the leaves, and then I'll go back and go right down the center with a very thin line of that gold glitter Mod Podge. You see, you can see the little sparkle already on some of these. It's very pretty. You could use a gold foil if you wanted. That would be pretty too. And these are how these lovely little ornaments are going to look. And we have our little trio here. I've just displayed them on a vine star. You can see the different positions of the leaves and the little touch of glitter. Here's that millwork that we did. So pretty, so expensive looking. It just, to me, it looks like metal. It definitely looks like a piece of metal. It's awesome. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe and to hang out with us and check out all the unique, budget-friendly DIYs that we do here on this channel.